What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Good to see you, gang. Welcome to a Tuesday show starting late in the afternoon after yesterday's nice early start. Just scared poor Joker out of a nap. He went bolting out of the room. Sorry about that, buddy. Anyway, a lot to talk through. We've got a 10-gamer today, so it's a late start plus 10 games. A lot to get through in about 2 hours. Going to try and have us out right around the 6 o'clock so that we've got an hour to build lineups. Nice casual 7:05 start on both sites. Some good contests up for tonight. We've got a lot of confirmed lineups in already. Just put an update on the site for the lineups that we've already got. We've got a lot of weather to worry about in this one. We'll talk through the weather spots. As usual, we'll talk through the pitching spots, all the different hitters, the stacks, rookies in lineups at the bottom of interesting lineups, adding more power potential like Colby Thomas at the bottom of the A's, but he's not currently on DraftKings. A lot of stuff to go through today, but welcome. Cujo's here, Monty Pritchett, Anthony Taylor. Yeah, Boston yesterday. How about that? Monster game. Willie Abreu with an inside the Parker and a separate grand slam in the same game. Somebody asked if that ever happened in baseball history. I'm not sure. I didn't catch the highlight shows this morning, so I'm not sure if they said whether it had happened before or not, but can't be that many of those out there. Noble RD Entertainment. Yo, what's going on? Monty Pritchett says Joker's ready for first pitch. Yeah, Yanks playing right now, actually. Yanks up 2-0. Kevin Gaussman on the bump for Toronto. Doesn't matter. It's just the top of the second. JC Escara at the dish. Gaussman ready. Delivers. Low. Ball 3. 3-2. Anyway, 2-zip Yankees. We'll keep you apprised of the situation in Toronto. But a lot to go through for the evening slate here while everybody trickles in the door. Let me jump over. Quick glance at the pitching board. There it is. Got some very appealing options up at the top, like Yoshi Yamamoto should be massively owned even at price, given the matchup against the White Sox. He projects out ridiculous. Had to put my finger on the scale, quite honestly, because he would have been blasting through the top of that. San Diego at Philly is postponed, by the way. That's on the earlier slate, I assume. What's that on the 6:35? Yeah. So, yeah, San Diego at Philly postponed at 6:35. No other news yet as far as weather? Because we've got could be a bad omen for the Mets game. The Brewers at Mets. I guess it's a decent enough diving in point overall. Just to round this out, though, real quick. Really appealing options up at the top. And then, even at Matthew Boyd, as good as he's been this year, I still lingering questions in my mind about Matthew Boyd overall. Clay Holmes, talented guy, not a monster strikeout pitcher, but good pricing against a gettable enough Brewers team, but not entirely safe. Shane Baz has been really interesting lately. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. But up against that hard-hitting Oakland team in that ballpark, there's always going to be downside. Then we get to Zach Gallen, who we never trust. Grant Holmes, who is good, but is fully priced for being that as good as he is. Got Williams, Hayden Birdsong. So there's some names, there's some depth to this slate, but there's also some question marks starting basically at Freddie Peralta. And you got relatively safe Jacob deGrom and Yoshi Yamamoto to work with up top, and you could live in those two spots if you're willing to pay for it. Gets really, really interesting after that, but everybody down through, Lorenzen against Seattle, Richard Fitz against Cincinnati, especially at 5,500 on DraftKings. It wouldn't be entirely crazy to throw a share or two of Shane Smith, even against the Dodgers. You don't have to. He's in no way a priority. He's probably not going to work. But he's talented enough. The bottom part of the board, Tyler Anderson, Colton Gordon, and Emerson Hancock, Brandon Young, Chase Dollander, maybe not. We've got a Coors Field game in play. That one's showing the big juicy total at 11 runs, 6+ coming down on the Astros side. But the Rockies, don't sleep on the Rockies at 5+ on their end of that one. That's a really interesting spot. That one's got some weather in the area. Ross saying maybe a late start. He's got it yellow-green. Should be fine. Warm weather and wind blowing out at Coors Field. Big plus. Starting at the top of the weather board, though, this first game on the Vegas board, the Athletics at the Rays. Pop-up showers in the area. Seems like it should be okay, but his note is to swing back around lock. He's got it as yellow. that's probably just going to be a Florida passing storms kind of a situation. But it does seem like he's maybe a little bit more concerned than typically, because he's usually yellow, green, green, yellow on those games. So noteworthy that he doesn't have any green in it. The Mets seems a little bit threatened. He's got that as orange. He is now saying, though, a little optimistic as long as they are willing to start dry and have maybe some light rain later in the game. But come back around first pitch, still orange, yellow on his board in that second game. Kind of the same deal in Boston. Pop-up storms around the ballpark. Depends on where they land. Come back later on closer toward lock. Kind of similar around Atlanta. But it's also a whole actual line of storms moving in around 10 p.m., he says. And then other than that, there's the scattered showers, the pop-up showers that might just land on the ballpark. So screwy situations in all four of those games. Cleveland to Chicago, you've got light wind. Nothing overly noteworthy at Wrigley. And then that Colorado game to round out the weather board. Going back up to the top, the A's are pulling just a 3.81 implied total, but I think they've got a higher ceiling than the implied total necessarily looks like. I think they're maybe in a better DFS spot to play with a little bit than maybe the reality of the baseball situation, which is what's being nailed by that Vegas line. A 3.5 to 5.5 kind of run day would not be out of the realm of expectation. But I think that there is a path through which the A's put a few home runs into the seats and really do a number on Boz. But again, he's been tremendous. Basically changed his arsenal pretty significantly over the last few starts, and it's paying dividends. We'll get into it. 4.79 implied total. No such concerns on the Rays side. They're going up against Jeffrey Springs. They look pretty decent from the middle of the board. One of the better totals overall on the slate. Going up against a lefty does, potentially put a little bit of a ding in portions of that lineup, some of your more appealing bats, but there's a lot of upside on the ongoing sense. Freddie Peralta on the bump for the Brewers, as you saw, one of the top options on the board, despite facing a very good Mets lineup. You've got Clay Holmes going back the other way. Holmes also an appealing option going up against the Brewers, who he's got checked down under 4 runs. What he's not is a tremendous strikeout pitcher, but he's very good at limiting run scoring in general. He's typically good at limiting home runs and home run power, but he's given up a few over the last half of the last quarter season, half of his half. So that's something to monitor as he's given up more home runs as we get into this part of the summer. It's to be expected to a degree moving from the bullpen to the starting role, but there's been fairly regular home runs hit against him. Nothing crazy concerning as far as the runs go. His low point for runs allowed is 4 on the season for earned runs. So he's been pretty terrific, just not a big strikeout option. The Reds and the Red Sox, a 10-run total in Fenway, definitely appealing. It's Brady Singer on the mound for the Reds. It's Richard Fitz going for the Red Sox. Bats on either side of that one. We'll talk about the pitchers when we get there. The Red Sox, 5.17 implied total after that monster performance last night. The Reds pulling nearly a 5 total on their side. So fairly even up game with offense showing on both sides. We'll probably end up in a 1-0 pitchers duel. Tyler Anderson going for the Angels, facing Grant Holmes for the Braves. 5.57 implied total. The Braves are looking pretty solid on their end of that one, going up against Anderson, a very gettable lefty. And Holmes has been fairly effective this year. There are strikeouts for him to go find in that Angels lineup. They do have a lot of power, as we've seen. 4.04 implied total is not nothing, but it pales in comparison to a lot of numbers on this board. Holmes, gettable enough, but can be good enough to keep that team suppressed. I don't love the Angels as much as we might normally. We'll talk it through when we get to it, though. Guardians and the Cubbies. Gav Williams on the mound for the Guardians. Matthew Boyd, again, I don't fully trust Matthew Boyd, even though he's been very good through this season. There are some appealing bats on the Guardian side of that game, but they're coming in at just a 3.5 implied total because of how good Boyd has been. We have to have some faith at a certain point, so fine with playing him. He projects out just fine. Would consider some potentially sneaky anyway, Guardians bats on the other side of that. 4.61 implied total. The Cubbies will be a lot more popular facing Gav Williams. I don't love targeting that Cubs team. It'll depend on price and fit overall for Gav Williams when we get there, but he's a talented kid, and when he's going right, would be able, capable of going 6 clean, picking up 5-6 strikeouts against this lineup. The Orioles with Brendan Young on the bump, and the Rangers responding with Jacob deGrom. One of these things is not necessarily like the other. I like deGrom, keeping the Orioles down at a 3.25, 3.26 implied total. Joker seems to as well. He's back. 4.35 implied total on the Rangers side. That lineup hasn't been great through this season, but maybe capable of getting to some Brendan Young. Astros 6.03 monster spot at Coors Field. They'll be crazy popular. They're going up against Chase Dollander, and then it's Colton Gordon on the mound for the Astros going up against the Rocks. I like the Rockies side of that one. People tend to sleep on that team at home. There's power in that lineup. They're at least somewhat interesting today. Kind of upper middle part of the board as far as the stack rankings. Rounding it out with the final three, Michael Lorenzen going against Emerson Hancock. Hancock, gettable enough from my money. He's keeping the Royals down at 3.74 implied runs. I'm showing some power upside in the model for the Royals. I'm kind of liking that spot as hopefully one that goes a little under owned. It is a pitcher's park, which isn't a great situation there, but Royals are looking pretty decent in our numbers. And then on the other side, the Mariners 4.36 and 4.35 implied total against a gettable enough low strikeout starter like Lorenzen. Kind of like that spot as well. The D-backs pulling a decent total against Hayden Birdsong, 4.81 implied total, 4.82 implied total. Zach Gallen on the mound for Arizona, pushing a okay enough total toward the Giants, 4.28. He hasn't been all that effective throughout most of this season, has run into 4, 4, 7, and 5 earned runs in his last 4 starts. Plus, there was one good start in the mix there and another 4 bumpy ones prior to that. So it's been a really, really bad quarter for Gallen. Maybe he turns a corner, maybe he doesn't. Never fully trusted him anyway. So I'm looking at some Giants bats there. They've got some interesting lefties to throw into the mix. That ballpark should help out in the desert. White Sox and the Dodgers rounding things out. Shane Smith on the mound for the White Sox, a 5.59 implied total for the Dodgers. What they're not showing is a ton of individual home run upside. Smith has given up 5 home runs to the 323 hitters he's faced over 74 and 2/3 this season. It's the one positive attribute we're maybe working with. He does find some swinging strikes, had better strikeout totals earlier. His last 3, he's been more limited for strikeouts, hasn't been as good. 5 earned runs in each of his last 2 performances, so maybe kind of hit the wall a little bit. It was a Rule 5 acquisition for the White Sox, if I'm remembering correctly. Yoshi Yamamoto, pretty high end against the worst lineup in baseball. So he's right there, top of the board with a bullet, well worth paying for. Love DeGrom against that up and down Orioles lineup. Should be able to dominate even at price. Fully priced Jake DeGrom. We're just kind of back. Freddie against the Mets. Again, that's where kind of the questions start. You can see there's a tier here of guys that are projected essentially the same, and then it breaks around Singer. And I think it's fair to have, essentially that list of guys. Maybe you could work Dick Fitz into that as a tier. And then the undesirables down there. But Freddie comes with some questions. He hasn't been necessarily as sharp in all his starts. The Mets lineup is very good. Boyd comes with questions against a good enough Guardians lineup with some power in it. Definitely upside there. I think he projects out fairly. Same thing with Clay Holmes. His low strikeout nature against that Brewers team, they can hit a little bit. He's not fully priced. Between Peralta, Boyd, Holmes, I'll throw Baz into that mix. Basically that group of guys. I might like Clay Holmes the best, even with his low strikeout nature. Which is weird to say. He has not been sharp in the last couple starts. Has kept runs down anyway, but 2 starts ago, 4 2/3 at Atlanta. 3 earned runs on 4 hits over the 4 2/3. Did face 24 hitters. Struck out 5, walked 6. Ugly start there. 2 strikeouts, 4 walks over 5 against Atlanta in a home game his last time out. Gave up a home run, but that was the only earned run on 3 hits. So again, not bad, but also not good for our purposes. But there's a little discount baked in there, and he's got upside. Gallen at price, also the same thing. Some of the struggles are baked in there. There are some Ks to go find in that Giants lineup. But they're also a fairly hard-hitting, interesting lineup to throw at him going the other way. Holmes, I just don't know if I love at price, but he's right in this tier. There's no daylight between his 29 and their 31, his 14.5 and the 16.5 up here. So perfectly capable of going out there having a good day against a free swinging Angels team. But they put a few balls in the seats, and it's going to be a different story at those prices. He's got to compete at a very high level, given how he's priced exactly like all these guys. A lot of concerns with Singer. He's priced somewhat effectively for that spot. It's a very high danger spot with the Red Sox pulling that kind of a total on that kind of a day in Fenway Park. Similar story with Gav Williams, given how good the Cubs are, 84, 83. Could be a little bit cheaper. Both guys capable enough. I probably prefer Gav Williams a little bit there. I do like Birdsong. Hasn't been great the last couple times out, including the last time he pitched. 77, 75, very cheap. Slightly diminished Arizona lineup with no Corbin Carroll in it. Maybe we get through, but they're showing enough upside that I don't know that we necessarily want to tangle with that, even though he projects out at the upper portion of that next tier. Lorenzen against the Mariners. I don't really trust it. There's not a ton of upside, but there are some strikeouts in that Mariners lineup. If it's an off day as far as their premium contact goes and where those hard hit balls land, then you could get through some clean innings. You're just kind of skating through at price, but he's at least not expensive. He's an effective SP2 price, if nothing else, on DraftKings. Springs, I'd rather have some bats on the other side of that one from the Rays, but he's very cheap at 68. Fitz, again, I'd rather have Reds bats, but he's extremely cheap at 55. And then you hit this tier of you're gambling here at best, and none of these guys are overly desirable. Looks like a double for Aaron Judge, starting out the third. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as we get started. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen, by the way, I forgot to mention it in the run-up, but second day of the promo. Use promo code SARCASTIC with an inexplicable K where the first C ought to be in the middle of the word. 50% off of a week or a month now through the end of this week, through July 4th, Friday. So check that out. Get you behind the paywall at rotoscouts. You get access to everything for baseball, all the individual player projections, the individual home run model for every player, pitching projections, stack rankings, individual home run picks, home run pick of the day, power index. You also get everything that comes for NBA, NHL, and NFL, all of which are off right now. One of the reasons we're running a promo. The guys in the Discord, which is linked down in the description down there, is completely free. You don't have to be a subscriber at the site, but man, $3 gets you from this week to next, this Tuesday today till next Tuesday on that weekly plan. It's under $1 a day normally, and you're getting 50% off with that promo code. So jump in there and check it out. But if you join the Discord, don't need to be a subscriber. Guys are using or projecting their own WNBA content in there. I might try and get that up onto the website on a daily basis so it's easier to access for people, and it's a little bit of an asset. I was talking yesterday about maybe getting some PGA up on the website. Somebody pinged me. I was mentioning yesterday that I saw the F1 movie, and somebody was saying that that I ought to use my knowledge now that I've seen the F1 movie and know what's going on behind the scenes of an F1 race to project F1. A little bit of a stretch. Monty says, if we already have a subscription, will the promo be applied to rollover for our next purchase? It won't be applied, but if you hit me up when your current term is going to expire, Monty, I'm happy to help you get what you would be entitled to. So yeah, you don't have to go cancel one and then resubscribe. Although if you did that, what you paid for would already be a term, and then you'd be picking up a second one. But I think there would overlap. I don't know if the system actually works that out. So cleanest way to do it, hit me up before your next term expires, like right before it expires. And that is open, by the way. It's anybody who is currently subscribed can take advantage of that, or people who have subscribed before and left, because NBA is not going on or whatever. If you want to come back, you can check that out. It's not going to limit you because you've been a subscriber before. So new subscribers, old subscribers, everybody's welcome to take advantage of that. I am going to turn that off, though, so it's not scrolling in your face throughout the entire show. I feel like that's annoying. Anyway, A's, Rays. So Shane Baz has basically eliminated throwing his slider and doesn't really throw his changeup anymore. And instead of that, he's replaced basically all that pitch usage with a pretty effective cutter. His last time out, he threw the cutter 40.2% of the time. He wasn't throwing a cutter prior to 3 starts ago. He worked it in 3 starts back. It became his tertiary pitch 2 starts ago. And then, he worked it in 4 starts back. He threw 1 4 starts back. I was looking at the wrong line. He threw 17.9% of his pitches 3 starts back were the cutter. Then it went up to 38.1. It was his most used pitch in his last 2 starts, 38.1 and 48.2%. So a revised arsenal for Shane Baz. Been very effective. Last time out, went 8, allowed 3 hits, 9 strikeouts and a walk. That was against KC at KC. 6 strikeouts, did walk 4, allowed a home run, 5 earned runs on over 5 1/3 against Detroit. So a bumpy outing there. That was one of the first outings with the cutter. 6 strikeouts, 4 walks, but no runs allowed, 3 hits over 6 2/3 against the Mets. Struck out 5, walked 3, 3 earned runs allowed, and he had been in a stretch of allowing a handful of earned runs from like the beginning of May through June 9th. Only 1 game did he hold opponents to fewer than 3 earned runs over that stretch. And he was only striking out 2, 3, 4 over that stretch for the most part. So with some walks in mind, there's always going to be walks with just his pitching arsenal. The fact that we've seen some success in these recent starts, and maybe it's a blip, but he's worked deeper into games. He's been efficient. He's been limiting hits a little bit more. And he's kept in a couple of these runners off while finding more strikeout. So he's at least gotten a little bit more interesting. It is threatening the Athletics and keeping them down under a 4 implied total. What we are still seeing, though, some upside for premium contact showing for the A's. One of the reasons that he moved the changeup out of the mix was it was getting tattooed in some of these starts. So was the slider. So 2 of the pitches that he was allowing a lot of the premium contact that we're seeing down here, 9.9% barrels, 41.1 on the hard hits, 89.7 on the exit velo on average, 3.69% home run rate. Part of that maybe has been worked out of the equation. He threw 3 changeups in the last start. Looks like one of them got mashed. He threw just 10 of them in the start before that. A couple of them got mashed. But he's not working with that pitch quite as much anymore. So, again, could have an impact on the ongoing power numbers against, but very much a work in progress. This is kind of a big we'll see spot with Shane Baz. At 88, at 91 against a Athletics lineup that has some strikeout in it for sure. Got Denzel Clark over 107 down here at 40 plus. Range of guys there. 22.9%. This 0 is skewing that average that's showing on your screen there. So there are plenty of strikeouts for him to go find. A 7-8 strikeout game would not be out of the question for Shane Baz. But again, very much a work in progress. 9.2% walks. There's a lot of walks on the board. If he puts a couple guys on base, 1.26 whip, and then one of these guys comes through with some power, Brent Rooker, Kurtz. I got the wrong Max Muncy in there, I just realized. Goddamn Max Muncy situation. Bane of my existence, those two. Let me just what do we need? That. I'm just dropping this into the projections upload right now so that I don't have to remember to do it later. Bear with me. So, like I was saying, if one of those guys happens to go deep after one of the walks or a couple of walks, a couple guys on base, completely changes the nature of Shane Baz's path to success at 91, at 88, with some mid-range options on the board. On the other side of this one, 6,800 to 8,100 for Jeffrey Springs. He's striking out fewer than 20%, 8.7% walk rate, a 4.30 ERA against a 4.67 xFIP. Does have an appealing 11.2% swinging strike rate that you could kind of maybe point to as a positive attribute if you're just looking for reasons at 6,800 as an SP2 to think maybe he can find a path to carving up some of these Rays. There is a 22.2% opposing strikeout rate for the average for this lineup. You've got Chandler Simpson at a sub 10% down the bottom. He gives you some good hit tool, some blazing speed. an interesting bat, maybe if we're going to the Rays, but a non-threatening hitter down lineup. You've also got a low strikeout rate on Junior Caminero in the heart of the lineup and on John D. Diaz at the top of the lineup, two very threatening hitters. But everybody else through this lineup is mid-20s, upper 20s. So there are Ks here for Jeffrey Springs to find. It's just he hasn't been effective at putting hitters away despite a good swinging strike rate, a moderate CSW. And there's a lot of warts otherwise. Allows a decent fly ball trajectory, 19-degree average launch, plays in this park, 8.2% barrels. That said, 36.4% hard hits, 88.2 miles an hour of exit velo. Given the swinging strikes, there's a justification there to say that maybe a little bit difficult to square up given those numbers, but still a 3.59% home run rate. The mistakes do travel. At 68, I think he works in the mix for a few shares of a low-owned, low probability SP2 dart on DraftKings. At 81 on FanDuel, I really don't see much reason to go there. Last time out, went 5, allowed 3 earned runs, a home run, struck out 3, walked 2. That was at Detroit. Start before that was good. 7 1/3 against Cleveland, 1 earned run, faced 26 hitters, gave up 3 hits, struck out 6, walked 1. The one earned run came on a solo homer. An effective outing before that, but gave up 7 hits, only 2 runs on the 7 hits, struck out just 2, walked 0 against Kansas City at KC. And then a handful of games where he's allowing earned runs, but finding some Ks. An 8 strikeout and a 7 strikeout game in early to start June. So there is actually at least a note to throw into the mix that 6 or more strikeouts in 4 of his last 7 starts. And then the other ones are 2 strikeout games and a 3 strikeout game. Probably a blip, maybe a minor uptick. I haven't looked into if the pitch mix is any different. So A's bats, given the wild card nature of what Shane Baz might be right now, I do think if the A's come up a little bit light as far as ownership goes, that becomes an immediately interesting team. The ballpark helps. Even with that run total, some of the premium contact that Shane Baz has allowed definitely appeals to me against these home run model numbers that are working against that. We've got a lot of bats to like here. No Soderstrom in the lineup, it looks like. So that takes one of our lefties out of the equation. But we get Lawrence Butler up top at 48, 3,000 across sites. He's got 11 homers, 13 steals, a 107 WRC plus. Hits the ball very hard. Jacob Wilson, just one of the best pure hit tools in the game. He's only 29 at shortstop right now. 5,000 on DraftKings is a little bit different. He's a table setter. I'd rather pay that FanDuel price for him. Brent Rooker at 49.33 can absolutely be in my lineup. 12.46, one of the better marks of the day in the home run model. I was tempted to make him the pick, but I didn't. 14.2% barrels, 47.1% hard hits, is improved again in every facet. I mean, look where this guy is now. 20.6% strikeout rate. This is down from the guy that was, 32.7 back in 23, down to 28.8 with monster strides last year. And then again, this year over year. Little bit off the pace maybe for the ridiculous home run total, but still has 17 in 379 chances. Essentially halfway through the season, 215 ISO. It's a monster. Kurtz coming on like a freight train. He's got 12 home runs and 187 chances, a 259 ISO. Kid can mash. 14.7% barrels, 11 plus in the home run model. Langoliers, 8.60 in the home run model. Not nothing, especially for 3,500 where you have to play catchers, 28 where you don't. Definitely belongs in stacks, especially on a day with no Soderstrom in the lineup. Max A. Muncy here, take or leave. His middle initial's not even really A. He's just lying to you. 5 home runs and 159 chances, but everything else is kind of meh. 58 WRC plus kind of speaks for itself. Between the two, give me Luis Urias. For one, he fills second base, 2,900, 2,400 on FanDuel. He's got a little bit of pop, 7 home runs over 253 chances. Doesn't really drive the ball all that effectively in terms of the barrel rate, the hard hit, but does hit situational home runs from time to time. I'll take the gamble for a cheap price and a low-owned player. You've got Colby Thomas on FanDuel. This kid is another potential power bat. He is their number 2 rated prospect by MLB's pipeline. If you're looking at FanGraph scouting reports, he's like mid-20s ranked organizationally from the start of the season, which seems just incorrect given his power numbers in the minors. Last year, over 575 plate appearances in AAA, 314 in AAA, 261 in AA. He had 31 home runs and 15 stolen bases with a 277, 342, 563 slash line. That's as a 23-year-old, so he's right on time. He's 24 now, over 354 chances all in AAA this year. He had 17 home runs, 7 stolen bases, a 297, 365, 542 slash line with a 245 ISO. So, dude's ready to go. They said they're going to bring him in slowly. He's going to get some part-time action. He's going to get some pinch hit opportunities, get some starts against lefties, but bang, here he is at 2,200 in the 8th spot in this lineup against the righty today. 6.37 out of the gate in the home run model. He is a player people are going to be sleeping on. Right now, not available on DraftKings as of at least this morning when I put the salaries in. Actually, I'm not going to take time. Somebody else go look and let me know. If he's on DraftKings, I'll add the salary in, and we'll get him into the update there. On the Rays side, and then Denzel Clark, some fantastic defense in the outfield. Yandy Diaz at 45.32 is very appealing. If you're choosing to target Jeffrey Springs, get his bat into your lineup. Major hard hit and barrel numbers, 13 homers, up to a 291, 345, 469 slash line with more to give. 129 WRC plus, a 370 xWOBA. He's terrific. Curtis Mead is interesting at 26 and especially at 22 where he fits in at second base at both prices. 231, 328, 352, 98 WRC plus. Look, I get it if you're not overwhelmed by those numbers. 3 home runs and 3 steals and 125 chances for a guy who hasn't exactly hit his stride as far as putting bat on ball. He's got good numbers throughout the minors. He's very cheap. He's hitting between Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau, who is in the lineup, which is an uptick in my opinion for this lineup from what we originally had. 9.70, even lefty-lefty. I don't care. 47-33 with Brandon Lau. I'll take my shot. 18 home runs at 215 ISO, 129 WRC plus. Still on Emacs Dynasty team. Emac and I made a trade yesterday in which I acquired Matt Olson and Seiya Suzuki's expiring. Brandon Lau is in the conversation because he's also on an expiring, but I gave Emac a little bit more to get to Matt Olson. Solid trade on all sides. Lau's terrific. I would have been very happy with Lau because I need him at first base. He doesn't have first base eligibility in this. He's second base only, but that's exactly where we want him for this, for DFS. The one thing you don't get is the ability to put both Brandon Lau and Curtis Mead at second base. You can do that FanDuel-wise, second base util if you want to go that route, but it probably does become a little bit of an either-or conversation, or you're putting Mead at third, which isn't necessarily ideal, but it is doable. He's cheap enough that it kind of offsets any downside of that. But then you run into the impact of having Junior Caminero at 49 being their next most desirable hitter at third base. So you do have some positional collisions up at the top on the DraftKings slate. 49, Caminero belongs in lineups, 21 home runs on the season at 259 ISO. He's just a star. He's low strikeout, 18.3%, 6% walk rate. That's down from 21.562 last year. He's terrific. Really good player. Chris Morrell, we've talked about the swing all season long. He shows it in the barrel rate, the hard hit rate consistently. When he puts bat on ball, which is not all that frequently, given the 34.1% strikeout rate, he can crush pitches. 6 home runs and 179 chances, just a 178 ISO. It's not pretty right now, but the consistency is not what we're buying him for. We're looking for that cheap home run ball. 2,300 multi-position, another second base, third base, but he's also got outfield on FanDuel, 37 just outfield on DraftKings. Very appealing if you're going to raise. Josh Lowe at 49.32. Solid slash line, 5 home runs, a 123 WRC plus, a 350 xWOBA, one of their better bats, full stop. Jose Caballero, 43.27, multi-position on FanDuel, shortstop and outfield on DraftKings, has 29 stolen bases on the year, and 89 WRC plus. Does give you the upside for a stolen base, a little bit of correlated scoring, but that's about all he is down lineup. Danny Jansen can turn on one as a cheap catcher from time to time. He's sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, but he's got 8 home runs and 206 chances. You're just buying cheap catcher power if you go to Jansen down lineup. And then Simpson is a little awkward at 4,400 on DraftKings. That's a surprising price. 27 on FanDuel's a little more like it. He's slashing 290, 325, 331. He plays bad defense, but and that's what got him sent down. But the hit tool is very real. He's got absolutely no power. Do not expect him to even barrel a ball all season. Not going to hit a home run unless it's an inside the Parker. But he flies. 22 stolen bases and 157 chances despite just a 325 on base. If he gets on a little bit more consistently, and maybe he could push the walk rate up, considering he is a discerning hitter as far as the hit tool goes. Sky's the limit as far as bonus points via stolen bases and runs scored, given his ability to just dunk in base hits. Depends on where he's hitting in the lineup and where he's priced as far as what the appeal looks like. That's kind of a broken price. But if you're going there, use him as a wraparound play back to the top with Johnny Diaz, Mead, etc., because he's going to set the table for those guys. Rays bats, A's bats, Shane Baz. I need to see it one more time before I pay these prices. And then Jeffrey Springs on DraftKings at 68, but that's not very good. Brewers lineup still not in. This game seems one of the more threatened spots for rain. But as mentioned, two good pitchers here. 25.5 strikeout rate for Freddie Peralta this season. He's got a 2.90 ERA, but the concerning 3.97 xFIP. It's still sub 4. It's workable, but we'll definitely see some maybe normalization as far as Freddie's ERA. It'll account for some bad days through the second half. He's given up a lot of barrels this year, 9.7% barrel and 18.4 degree average launch angle, so a fly ball trajectory. He's just decent at limiting the hard hit rate, the exit velo of those. So 3.12% home run rate is entirely believable. It's typically where he's at. 102 marked by Stuff Plus. Still like the arsenal, still like the pitcher. 93 innings over 17 starts. Always capable of breaking off a very good start, a high strikeout start. Last time out, 8 Ks, but gave up 3 earned runs over 5 innings to Pittsburgh, 7 hits. He's only gone 5 in his last 2, but that's coming off a stretch of 3 straight where he completed the 6th and booked a quality start in each one. So more than capable of giving you 6 decent innings, maybe 2-3 runs against here. At 93, 98, you do want him to find some Ks along the way. You know, if he gives up 2 or 3, I want my 8 strikeouts. And the Mets are less than likely to give you those 8 strikeouts. That's kind of where we collide with that price on Freddie a little bit. And that's why I was saying the question marks start in that 3 spot with Freddie on that pitcher board. So not entirely safe. There's more downside than that comes with the Mets' power, their ability to sequence via high walk rate. And Freddie walks 8.8%. So there's a lot working for the Mets, and the 4.15 implied total is kind of indicative of that. On the Mets side, Clay Holmes at 85.89. He's an interesting pitcher. 103 rating for his arsenal, full arsenal by Stuff Plus, a sub 3 ERA. I'm having talking problems today. I'm mush-mouthed, which isn't going to help our time. A sub 3 ERA, but again, another pitcher just under a 4 xFIP. So maybe something to watch there. He's lower strikeout overall than Freddie. Historically has been very good at limiting launch, limiting home run totals. Still at 2.72% home runs as far as home runs allowed this season, but he's up to an 8.3% barrel rate, 42.1% hard hits, and 90.2 miles an hour of exit velo. So some of those barrels, when people do find launch against him on some of the mistake pitches, they are getting up and out of the stadium lately. So it is a little something to watch as far as Clay Holmes' next half. Home run allowed last time out. Blanked the 1 home run allowed last time out to the Braves. I talked about these games earlier, but that was the only run he gave up. No home run in the start before that, but gave up 3 earned and only went 4 2/3 while striking out 5 and walking 6 in Atlanta. And then 3 straight games with a home run allowed, 1 in 2 of them, and then 2 in 1 of them. And then prior to that, a game where he went 5 2/3 against the White Sox. No home run, but only 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, 1 run allowed on 4 hits. And then 2 straight games of 2 home runs allowed to Boston and the Pirates over 6 innings. But again, only 2 earned runs in the Boston game, so 2 solo shots, 4 earned runs on 2 home runs in the Pirates game. Only struck out 4 and 5, walked 3 in each game in the Red Sox game. So kind of it's mixed bag when he's given up a little bit of power there, but he really hasn't gotten burnt by it. 4 home runs or 4 earned runs is the highest total he's given up all season. So he's been effective. You just got to worry a little bit around some of the power, but you can see the impact he's having on the home run model, even with this year's numbers accounted for. So I like the option at 85, at 89. I think he's capable of putting a few points of ceiling on this implied total, or on this projected total. But the Brewers not particularly high strikeout overall either. Rhys Hoskins can give you some Ks, but he also draws a ton of walks. Isaac Collins kind of similar to that with less power. And then you get some low strikeout guys, some pure low strikeout guys. You've got Christian Yelich, who could still put good bat on ball, striking out a little bit more overall this year than he has in years past. but also capable of drawing a walk. Chudio's managing strikeout, not really capable of drawing many walks. He has pushed that up a little bit at 4.3, but still at 286 on base, part of his problems this year. But between the two, Brewers bats, Clay Holmes, I lean a little bit Clay Holmes. Getting into those Brewers, though, the 3.93 implied total, not exactly pushing a monster number into their projections, but some workable bats up top if you're choosing to target Holmes here. Sal Frelick could be a part of the conversation, given the hit tool. If you're just looking to dink and dunk and sequence your way to a big total against Holmes, Frelick's a big part of that conversation. He puts the ball in play a lot, 300, 359, 401 slash line, a 117 WRC plus, 15 stolen bases. Correlated scorer with a little bit of stolen base bonus upside, doesn't strike out, draws a medium walk rate. Chudio for 48.35, 13 homers, 15 steals. Still feels like he's a little bit priced for reputation rather than production. 189 ISO, just a 301 xWOBA, a 101 WRC plus. The runs, the RBIs have been solid, 54 runs, 50 ribbies. You can't really argue with that. There's nothing predictive about those, as we talked about a lot. But couple few $100 expensive, I think. Will eventually justify higher prices than these. I fully believe in the player. But given what we're getting on a regular basis this year, I think it's fair to say he's a little bit expensive. Through another lens, he's a little bit cheap. Yelich at 5,036, 16 homers, 12 steals. A Christian Yelich-like season outside of the slightly reduced walk rate and the significantly increased strikeout rate, but still putting very similar bat on ball to previous years. Easy to pay for in the outfield if you're choosing to target Clay Holmes. He's a priority. William Contreras, 42.29. Very limited season out of him so far. 6 home runs, 5 steals, a 321 xWOB is at least encouraging for a little bit of an uptick, but 242, 357, 349. Staying alive via that 15.5% walk rate, the sub 20% strikeout rate. The bat on ball has not been great. 103 WRC plus. He's fine if you're going Brewers, but he's not a priority at the catcher position overall. Bryce Turang, 45.31, mix and match quality play with a little bit of upside beyond that. 17 steals, a very solid 361 on base, a 112 WRC plus. The power that he flashed very early in the season wasn't real then, and it remains not real. 5 home runs, carrying a 45.1% hard hit rate, more of a line drive hitter than anything else, but a medium strikeout rate at 21.6, a solid 10.4% walk, pushing the on base. Again, this team can sequence outside of Jackson Chudio. Everybody there, including Chudio, that top 7, that's a 342 average on base percentage. So that's where this team finds a lot of success. And that's what you want if you're targeting Holmes, given the low launch angle. Reese, you hope that those guys are on base, and Reese goes deep. He's got 12 on the season, just a 3.56 in today's home run model, but you can see the barrels, the hard hit rate lead the team. He's had a lot of home runs through his career. Started the season a little bit stronger than he's been in recent weeks. I feel like he's down to 238, 334, 418. Still holding on to a solid on base, though, because he is a 3 true outcomes hitter. We'll watch where his power goes as far as the output through the end of the season. Collins is fine. He's a mix and match quality guy who can get on base. You've got a 326 on base out of Caleb Durbin now. He's very low strikeout, low walk, so you're just buying some poorly hit balls in play, but he's finding a little bit of success via BABIP. Still a sub 100 WRC plus and a sub 300 xWOBA is not appealing. And then Joey Ortiz is at best a low end filler. On the Mets side, Thunder? I don't know if that was thunder or a truck that just went by outside. If it's thunder, that would be concerning for the Mets game. Mets side for this game. Lindor, 53-35, 16 homers, 13 steals. It's Frankie Lindor. Don't overthink it. Just go there. You've got a cheap Starling Marte in the 2 spot, helping the pricing on that top few. If you're willing to go 3 outfielders and you just go right off the top with the Mets on DK, you're already getting that price down to $47.40. It's not the craziest low price you've ever heard, but it's a pretty decent price for a lineup that includes Lindor, Soto, and Alonso, as well as Brendan Nimmo, by the way, who's been mashing baseballs. That's not a bad stack for the money. Marte's effective enough. 252, 345, 374, a 110 WRC plus. Can steal you a base every now and then. He can turn on one. More likely a table setter. Couple of base hits and score a few runs for the power bats behind him. Soto at 56, 4,000. He's got 20 home runs now. 258, 394, 507, a 248 ISO, a 153 WRC plus. What struggles? Pete Alonso, 51, 39, 18 homers, a very solid slash line of his own, 250 ISO, 159 WRC plus. And then Nimmo, again, mashing, 9.9% barrels, 51.2% hard hits. He's up to 255, 316, 454 after a slow start. He's got 15 home runs, a 199 ISO. We could push that up a little bit higher given that premium contact, and he should. He's been terrific over half a season. He's only 41, 3,000. Take advantage of the low price. Mark Vientos is very cheap, 3,200, 2,600. Hasn't been good in his limited plate appearances this year. 221 opportunities, just 6 home runs, a bad slash line, and 84 WRC plus. Keep in mind, over 450 chances, he had 27 home runs and had a good slash line. Creator runs 35% better than average last year, and never saw a full price last year. So he's even cheaper now. I think you can buy a little bit of upside. Needs to find the barrels again, but at least the hard hit is fairly consistent with where he was. He's actually improved the strikeout rate while pushing the walks up slightly. There's things to like here. Jeff McNeil is a BABIP-focused hitter who can find some success from time to time, always can get involved in Met stacks. Luis Torrens, good bat on ball to start his season, hasn't seen any results for it over 159 chances, just an 84 WRC plus. And then Brett Beatty, very similar, very, very good bat on ball at a cheap price, 34 at second base, 27 at second base. Works for me. 8 home runs, 209 plate appearances. Doesn't really get on base. Not an ideal guy as a wraparound option, but as a power bat, a sneaky power bat that nobody's really going to go to just to round out a cheap Met stack, he's workable at second base. I prefer Brett Beatty to Jeff McNeil given the nature of how they hit the ball. McNeil does it more consistently, but Beatty gives you better opportunities at big DFS scores. Slight edge to Freddie Peralta over Clay Holmes, but it's slight. They're very close up toward the top of the board. Both have their flaws in this matchup. Mets bats over Brewers bats, though. Cincinnati and Boston. Targetable Brady Singer on the mound for Cincinnati. Oh, that guy's still not listed on DK. Thank you. Colby Thomas. Keep an eye out. If he lands on that slate, which this late in the afternoon, they usually don't add guys, but if they happen to, that's an interesting bat. And he'd probably be mid-price. Yeah, power, a lot going on in free agency. The hot stove for all 3 other major sports. Going on like crazy. Detroit at Washington postponed. Rain on the way. Yeah, sounds like it's getting grayer outside. Not yet like that weird green pre-thunderstorm color, though. All right. Richard Fitz on the 25th went 4 against the Angels. So I think 5 is reasonable here. He struck out 6 in that game. He walked 1. He gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs on 2 home runs. Start before that was on June 2nd. So some time off in between. That was just a opener appearance. Went 1 inning, gave up 5 earned runs on 3 home runs, struck out 0 and walked 1. Maybe it wasn't scheduled to be an opener appearance, but he came out after just an inning. It was effectively an opener appearance. 3 innings, faced 12 hitters, worked clean in the outing before that as kind of a extended opener, let's say. That was his first appearance since early April. That was on May 27th. So presumably, if all goes to plan, 5 is what I would expect here from Fitz. At 5,500 against a Reds team that has a 23% strikeout rate, Fitz comes in with a 19.3 on the season, but it comes on a 12.3% swinging strike rate in his 25 innings, his 6 starts. There's at least some minor justification for saying that at worst, he's a consideration as a dart throw SP2 on DraftKings. A very low expectation, work through the sim, buy a couple big bats type of a play. But I think he probably should be in the mix with a fairly aggressive limitation on how much you can get exposed to him in any given crunch. But if you're building lineups, I think he should be in your lineup builds, your crunches, whatever you call them. I got to get away from calling them crunches. It's just the word that's ingrained in my brain. There's nothing appealing about it. He's given up a 6.42% home run rate and all those home runs I just mentioned in short outings. And the Reds have plenty of power to throw at him on the other side. You absolutely want to hedge that any share of Richard Fitz that you take, you should probably have like 1.5 shares of Reds stack in other lineups. It's probably not going to work. 14% barrels allowed, 43.6% hard hits, 7.3% walks. There's some guys on base. Maybe it comes down to that, but it's at least an appealing price. At 72 on FanDuel, I don't think there's any way that you should go there. Probably not going to book a quality start here. So just a different kind of a play. Singer at 8,082. 20.7% strikeouts this year, a 4.31 ERA, but a 4.53 xFIP. A lot of barrels, a lot of hard hit, a lot of exit velo out of him on a fly ball trajectory. Extremely lucky to be at a 2.72% home run rate so far, given those numbers. So most of that's going to change over the second half. You could throw a couple of darts around the strikeout. Little bit of upside, 24.3% average strikeout rate for this young Red Sox lineup. Some very inexperienced hitters, some guys who've been, performing at better stretches than we've seen them, like we've talked about over this season so far. But I definitely prefer the Red Sox bats at a 5.17 implied total, and I don't feel like Singer's necessarily cheap enough that there's appeal in doing that. You just kind of be doing it to do it because he's capable of getting there, rather than like it actually looks like a good spot where he's gonna. Projects out okay for those numbers. I think the projection kind of reflects that at price. The near 5 implied total for the Reds, this 5+ implied total for the Red Sox, could have saved us some time and not talk pitching at all in this one. TJ Friedl up top, 43.28 for the Reds. 8 homers, 9 steals, getting on base like crazy. 370 on base is where his value is coming from. A 118 WRC plus. An effective slash line. He's low strikeout, high walk. He's a very apt player to get to Richard Fitz to start things off for the Reds here. McLean entrenched back in the 2 spot. 9 home runs, 11 steals. Otherwise, pretty poor season so far. An 80 WRC plus. Not even really putting justifiable bat on ball, but at least they're giving him that shot back up toward the top of the lineup regularly now. 28% strikeouts, but nearly a 10% walk. There's some appeal there, and we know what 2 years ago looked like. So at price, at second base, there's a ton of value in still just having faith in Matt McLean. Ellie De La Cruz needs no faith. He's got 18 home runs, 22 stolen bases, a 224 ISO, 131 WRC plus. The quality's right in your face. You just play Ellie De La Cruz. It's 9.34 to lead the team in the home run model today. Austin Hayes carrying a 14.3% barrel, 4,400, 3,100 across sites, 7 home runs, a very effective 295, 336, 568 slash line, over 143 plate appearances, got a 273 ISO, a 139 WRC plus. He's an effective right-handed bat, if nothing else. He's playable. I don't love the 44 on DraftKings. The 31 is only a moderate price on FanDuel. Maybe they could have done us a favor and been, $200-300 cheaper on both sites, but playable. And then you get cheap after that. So if you're working with any of those bats, the average price comes right down in a full stack. Gavin Lux at 32 is entirely playable. He's put up a decent slash line this year, getting on base a lot, creating runs, 109 WRC plus, 359 on base, not showing a ton of power, but drawing a lot of walks. The strikeouts at 23.6%, given the nature of the hitter, could be a little bit better than they are. He'd find even more success that way. But a playable piece at third base or in the outfield. Second base is even more appealing on FanDuel. Spencer Steer, bad season out of him. Well, average season, let's say. 250, 302, 396. 9 home runs, 6 steals. It's okay. It's not good. It's not what we were hoping for. We want a little bit more power out of the righty. Limited as far as barrels at 5.7%, and then plummeted for hard hit, down from 39.9 last year to 31.8 this season. That's where your problems are coming from. Just a 284 xWOBA too. Jose Trevino's never been the bat that he started the season like. Over 168 plate appearances. The line looks good, but I promise you the hitter's not really good. He's here for his catching skills behind the plate, not at it. Will Benson, 39.25, all the power in the world, 6 home runs in a hurry, and then has gone kind of into the tank. 5.52 in the home run model. If you're going to the Reds, you can definitely play some cheap Will Benson as a one-off outfielder in Fenway Park with some power showing. It's not the craziest idea at a cheap price. He's just in the mix. He's not like a priority in that sense, but he's in the mix. And then Encarnacion Strand is kind of the same thing down there. 5 home runs and 125 chances. Everything else about that line sucks. Don't look at it. Just focus on the premium contact, the cheap price. First base, third base, he works. Big righty bat in this ballpark can play. Roth increased the risk in Mets Boston, said he wouldn't be surprised if they postpone. That also wouldn't surprise me at this point. Glad it was one of the early games so we can make sure to talk about the entire thing in very specific detail before they postpone it. Always the way. So the Reds, downright interesting, basically from top to bottom. I do think you can play Trevino if you're building a bunch of red stacks. Don't leave him entirely out of the mix. I just greatly prefer Tyler Stevenson. On the Red Sox side, Jarren Duran, 45, 3,000. A limited year out of Duran overall, but still one of their more capable bats, still carrying a solid barrel and hard hit rate. Just a 98 WRC plus, but should come on through the second half. I wouldn't be surprised to see him surge a little bit here. But the strikeouts are up a little bit. The walks are down a little bit. Hasn't found as much extra base hit success like we've talked about a lot. That accounts for the discount that you're getting. Roman Anthony, you're getting a major discount on the talent, not necessarily the output. The price is correct for the output, but 14% barrels, 48.8% hard hits in the small sample. Doesn't really jibe with the weak slash line, the 129 ISO, just one home run. He's going to come roaring to life at some point, and I want to be a part of it the day it happens. Big lefty to throw at Brady Singer, getting the regular opportunity at the top of the lineup. They see him as the star of the future, and I don't necessarily disagree. So I'm going to fire away with cheap Roman Anthony until further notice if I'm going Red Sox, and it seems like a Red Sox kind of a day. Abraham Toro, 29-27, multi-position. Both corner spots is not necessarily ideal on DraftKings. Again, second base is where I'd prefer to land a player like Toro. Solid 153 plate appearances, creating runs 16% better than average. A little bit of pop, medium grade power and more situational power, but low strikeout, medium kind of low walk rate. So you get a lot of balls in play, and he's finding success that way this season. Carlos Narvaez, not necessarily a great bat, but 7 home runs, 275, 352, 446 this season. Just a 315 ex-Woba, but making decent contact, 11.1% barrel rate so far. You can buy that bat for $3,700 as a righty bat in Fenway Park. Not a bad option. Willier, coming off a monster day yesterday. 16 home runs on the season now, a 240 ISO, 120 WRC plus. Continues to be my favorite bat in this lineup now. 13.3% barrels, 45.6% hard hits. Leads the team in the home run model. Trevor Story had a big day too. He's up to 12 homers and 13 steals. Don't look now, but Trevor Story shot at a 2020 season for sure. The other numbers in the slash line, 237, 281, 380 is very weak. But counting stats wise, premium contact wise, like we've been talking about all season long, he's right where he's supposed to be. Strikes out a lot, not drawing any walks. That's been part of the problem as far as the on base, as far as the ongoing regular reliable run creation, just an 80 WRC plus. But for DFS, as a $3,800 DraftKings shortstop, a $3,200 option on FanDuel, that is a valuable player when you go to the Red Sox. Do not leave him out of too many of your Red Sox stacks. He is still giving us fantasy production. Marcelo Mayer's just good. 10.7% barrel, 57.1% hard hits. It's turned it into 4 home runs. 220 ISO is very solid. Kind of defies the 295 ex-Woba so far. Needs more of those balls to fall in. Strikes out a little bit too much. Doesn't really walk enough. Needs to improve in some areas, but he's very cheap. Shortstop, third base on FanDuel. He has second base on DraftKings, which is ideal to plunk him in at 2,900, given the power upside, the contact upside, and the skill set. Another kid they're expecting to turn into a very high-end player. David Hamilton, tons of speed, 13 steals and 120 chances, despite just a 220 on base. Stole a bunch of bases last year. 3,600, 2,800 for Ceddanne Rafaela is interesting. Just an outfielder on DraftKings, giving you a little bit more than just another outfielder status, despite just a 96 WRC plus. Another guy, 9 home runs, 11 steals in under 300 plate appearances is not bad as far as the totals go. Solid as far as his premium contact, improved in strikeout and walk rate this year. He's still not good or reliable necessarily, but from our perspective and from the perspective of that 334 ex-Woba and the contact metrics, this is a good purchase for 3,600, and especially with the infield eligibility at 28 on FanDuel. Not ideal given his lack of skills at drawing walks or getting on base as a wraparound play, but as an end cap to like a stack that starts from here and works down through those guys. Ceddanne Rafaela is very much in play. And if you don't worry about the connection to the other guys, then yeah, work them into stacks. Very interesting play. Red Sox, Reds, $5,500 Richard Fitz, Brady Singer on either side if you're going to use them, and $7,200 Fitz on FanDuel at the bottom where you should not play him. And really not a big fan of playing Singer in this spot. We've all seen Singer succeed in spots just like this before, but you're just kind of gambling if you're going there today, I think. Jacob Wilson scratched. Ooh, downgrade, slight downgrade for the A's. Do we know who we get instead? They haven't updated it on Labs yet. It looks like Schumann into the lineup. So, what is it? Rooker moves to 2. Langoliers moves to 3. Kurt stays 4. And Muncy, oops, come on. Muncy, Urias, Thomas all move up. Clark moves up. And Max Schumann goes in there. And then Rooker goes in there. And Langoliers goes there. All right, that's your new A's lineup. It's mostly the same, except you lose that great hit tool. Everybody up here moves up a spot. You gain a little bit of power, probably in these couple guys. Like Langoliers probably went up a slight half a point or so, and I would expect Rooker did the same thing. I forget what their numbers were before. They were already good, but just gaining a little bit of plate appearance via moving up the lineup there. Max Schumann, not all that much of a bat. He's low strikeout and fairly high walk rate for a cheap price. You do get him second base, multi-position on FanDuel. I don't love him at shortstop on either side, but any of the other positions a little bit more okay. Getting on at a 350 clip, over 103 plate appearances, loosely playable at the bottom of the lineup. 7 homers, 14 steals, and 459 chances, and 85 WRC plus last year. It's about what you're getting. All right, totals in for this one. 6,300, 7,600 is not cheap enough to play Tyler Anderson in my book. 4.41 ERA at 4.92 xFIP. Capable of absolutely getting tattooed. A fly ball oriented pitcher at 18.7 degree average launch, 8.9% barrels allowed, a 4% home run rate, substandard by Stuff Plus. He is inducing an interesting 11.6% swinging, but just doesn't find enough strikeout. Walks too many anyway. Lot of upside shown for the Braves at a 5.58 implied total. I think we're just going there. And then you get expensive Grant Holmes. You're throwing him at an Angels team that has a 25.6% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup. Part of that is pushed up by 32.8% from Christian Moore in an unfair 58 plate appearance sample. But even if you take that out, it's 24-7. There are a lot of strikeouts here. There's also a lot of power. You've got Mike Trout at 11.32. You've got a decent number on Ward, Odell, Soler back in the lineup at 7.54. Ohapi at 8.85, 8.14 for Zach Neto up top. So plenty of power showing. A few darts of Angel stacks is absolutely in play today at 4.04 implied runs. A lot of pretty decent home run totals so far this season with plenty of upside to come. So wouldn't mind some Angels, but Grant Holmes, quality pitcher. 3.70 ERA, an exact match for his 3.70 xFIP. What he has given up, though, and what would be concerning against this Angels team is an 11.8% barrel rate, 43.9% hard hits, 90.8 miles an hour of exit velo, and a 3.72% home run rate. That comes on a 9.9 degree average launch. He's kind of caught in between being able to keep the ball down reliably enough and not, which is indicative, directly telling us this story of this part, right? These home runs come from the mistakes that he makes when he keeps the ball down effectively on the majority of opportunities. He's been all right, and that's why that's a sub 4% home run rate despite all that contact. But it could also get worse depending on the opposing team, depending on the nature of the mistakes that he's making. And again, at these prices, one mistake, one ball into the seats can bend your day when there are similarly priced aces, when there are cheap upside plays. Can get real ugly in a hurry. I'll also add the 1.26 whip and the 11.2% walk rate over 90 innings in 16 starts to the equation. 12.8% swinging is great. 28.1% CSW is fine, but doesn't really bounce off of that all that well. So it'll be closer to 29.30. So there's some good, there's some bad in with Grant Holmes, and I think he projects that way for the money. He was a couple spots down the pitching board, if you remember. As compared to everybody else in that price range, He's a few spots off the mark. There's not a ton of daylight between here and there, but there's a little. And again, it could get buried in a hurry. Would play Grant Holmes, would play some Angels against it. If they come up low owned, that becomes an interesting spot, given that mix of power allowed and power perceived. What's that line from The Lord of the Rings? There's some kind of line about that. Anyway, no time to waste on The Lord of the Rings. So Neto up at the top. If you're going Angels, bats 52-34, dozen home runs, 13 steals, a 213 ISO, a 122 WRC plus. Zach Neto is just good. Was very good last year, maintaining the quality this year over 266 chances. Missed a little bit of time, but has come roaring right back to life. Nolan Shanuel gets on base at a very effective clip for a guy who hits ahead of Mike Trout. 363 on base. He's creating runs 17% better than average. Probably has a little bit more to give in terms of the hit tool. He's very low strikeout, high walk. So you get balls in play. You also get a lot of on-base opportunity out of that walk rate. Just doesn't really hit the ball that hard, which is a shame. There's a lot of skill there. If you can manage to hit the ball a little bit harder, generate a little bit more bat speed. But that can also mess with a guy, as we saw with Vinny earlier this year. Trout at just 47, 32 on FanDuel. Thank you for the discount. 13 home runs, a 215 ISO, a 400 xWOBA, 16.9% barrels, and 53.7% hard hits. I can roster Mike Trout at these prices. 28% strikeouts, fine, whatever. It's up from last year, but it's in line with 2 years ago. 14.2% walks is up from both years. I will take Mike Trout at those prices. Thank you. 45-32 for Taylor Ward. A lot of power out of him. 14% barrels, 42.5% hard hits, and 20 home run total so far. The rest of the slash line is pretty ugly. It's just a power bat. That's what this team is. They are almost entirely comprised of power bats. Joe Adell at 39 and 32. 15% barrels, 47.8% hard hits, 18 home runs on the season, a 255 ISO. Who told you about Joe Adell? First day of the season. 127 WRC plus so far. All of a sudden, there's columns all over the fantasy industry. Look at this player who is having his breakout year finally at age 26. We had it from the jump. Logan O'Hoppe, 16.1% barrels, 54% hard hits. Following Jorge Soler, who I accidentally skipped over at 3,100, but shouldn't have. Given Soler's track record at these prices, you can definitely take some bites out of that against Grant Holmes' premium contact allowed as well. Soler has had a bad 265 chances, but if you're just buying shares of guys who could have monster second halves, look no further. I mean, we're down in barrels, we're down in hard hits. There's not anything immediate to indicate that outside of just the pedigree of who this guy's been through his career. There's still major power here. Very, very cheap. O'Hoppe at 35 is an extremely affordable power hitting catcher. 17 homers, a 224 ISO on the season. Get him into DraftKings lineups. He's very playable on FanDuel. If you skip Shanuel and go to O'Hoppe, there's nothing wrong with that on FanDuel. Absolutely nothing. Luther Renifo kind of stabilized his season a little bit with a couple big games, but overall it's been pretty bad. A 65 WRC plus. At best right now he's a mix and match play. And then Christian Moore got accelerated to the show in an awful hurry. He's got 3 home runs. Everything else has been pretty bad. 220 ISO, a 9.1% barrel, too many strikeouts, handful of walks so far. Still an interesting player at 3,200, 2,700, given what his profile looks like and what he's supposed to be over time. It's just probably a little bit early. On the Braves side, again, monster appeal in that total. Fully priced Ronnie Acuna and fully in form. Over 146 plate appearances now. He's at 361, 479, 630. He's got a 269 ISO and have been creating runs 106% better than average since returning to the lineup. Absolutely tattoos baseballs. Just work with Ronnie Acuna. 9.51 in the home run model against Anderson. Could have a big, big day. Matty Olson, again, just acquired him in the Dynasty League. Player I love. 15 home runs, 364 on base, a 213 ISO. Doesn't actually start for my team till next Monday, so let's just get him through this week healthy. But I think he's primed to go on a big tear for us in the second half. He's been barreling the ball and putting up a hard hit rate reminiscent of 2 years ago when he hit 50-some-odd home runs. He's a beast. Marcell Ozuna, 4,000, 3,000. Has hit the skids, admittedly, over the last month. It's been a problem. I was ranting and raving about that price being as low as it was, and he's kind of now justifying having a low price. But what he's been over time, what he's still doing as far as on base and correlated scoring and run creation, and what the power upside looks like the day he comes back out and the what is it, a shoulder, and his injury, let's say, is fully healed. it's going to cause problems at these prices. So you continue to going to Ozuna hitting third in this lineup, especially as he just gets cheaper and cheaper. Austin Riley, kind of similar, 4,300, 2,900. Just take advantage of the cheap prices. He's at 12 home runs, but just a 154 ISO, not finding success despite hitting the ball consistently like he has the last couple of seasons. Strikeouts are up a little bit, walks are down a little bit, but it's not really crazy relevant. Just a little bit of weird output should come roaring back to life. Drake Baldwin at 4,000, very affordable at catcher. He's been crushing balls all season. 9 home runs at 280, 352, 472 slash line. Creating runs 30% better than average. Very high end bat at catcher on DraftKings. Playable on FanDuel at just 26 to put in combination with Olsen. Take Acuna, Olsen, one of these two guys, and the catcher. Run with that. That's what. Let's go Riley, Baldwin. That's a $3,300 a man FanDuel stack for that 4-man. You get Acuna, Olsen, Riley, and Drake Baldwin. You're filling first base, util, third base, and outfield. Love that stack. Whoops. Ozzy Albies, 35-26, has been problematic all year. We've talked about it a lot. You're just mix and matching your way to Albies shares at this point. Same thing with Mikey Harris, 2 spots later at 34-25. Alex Verdugo's never been good in the middle in between those two guys and is currently still not good, 67 WRC+. Very cheap. And Nick Allen, as always, here for defense. Braves bats, Angels bats. Grant Holmes, because he's a little bit expensive, comes in third, but still very, very playable. And no Tyler Anderson for me. Yeah, DK's weird, man, Monty. They're just slow on the upswing with some of these guys. They really are reluctant, like you're saying, to put full prices on guys. And then other guys they get completely reactionary with and just raise the price or lower the price just immediately. It's so weird. Oh, that was my trade going through. Cool. Mets postponed. There you go. Tiz breaking all the good news today. Appreciate it. All right. So take that one off the board. Takes a couple of our decent pitching options away. Can't find you guys. There we go. So yeah, the fact that we're now losing 1 and 2 of our top handful of pitchers here really makes this, it kind of reshapes this slate now. Just in talking it through, that actually does, I think, make Grant Holmes a little bit more interesting because those are the 2 of the more highly projected direct competitors at the price range, one of whom was one of the more appealing, cheaper options. So I think that definitely pushes some shares toward Grant Holmes. Even at price at 97 on DK, the 91 on FanDuel is a lot more easy to swallow now. Probably makes it more worthwhile to take some gambling shots on Zach Gallen at price. Hope you get through. Baz definitely becomes more interesting, and so does Matthew Boyd. Obviously, the top 2 we're going to get their shares no matter what. But it really puts the heat on the Boyd, Baz, Gallen, Holmes part of the board now. Everybody else down here is less impacted by that. This is the stretch where that gets really, really interesting, taking those 2 off the board. Guardians and the Cubbies. Got both of these lineups in. I love that. Looks like basically the usual fit for the Cubs side, and then the Guards go with their verse left-handed lineup here, trying to counter the Matthew Boyd impact. Boyd's been good. I said at the beginning of the season that he was going to go pop at some point, and to his credit, he really hasn't. 22.3% strikeouts, a 5.7% walk. Very nice little strikeout to walk rate. Not a dominant strikeout rate by any means, but effective. 10.1% swinging, just a 25.2% CSW is definitely something worth calling out against a solid swinging strike rate. Needs to find more strikes. Could probably put away more hitters if he can find some more strikes along the way. But limiting runners, 110 whip is fine. Not exactly spectacular against that walk rate, but fine. I mean, that's good. I don't want to say, I said not spectacular. It's very, very good as just a standalone whip. But against that low walk rate, it honestly could be even lower. So a few base hits in there. Hasn't really given up too much in terms of power. Has been good at limiting hard hits. Exit velo, barrels are perfectly fine despite the fly ball trajectory. 2.72% home runs, manageable and believable given these numbers. 2.65 ERA, but you'll note a 4.0 xFIP. Has been pitching a little bit over his head. So I still do not fully trust this pitcher. And at 9,000, 9,400 on that shortened slate, he's now more interesting and more of a priority. But I wasn't relishing the idea of throwing him into this Guardians lineup. A little bit of power showing for the Guards. Collision of some upside from Jose Ramirez, obviously, and then the cheap right-handed bat David Fry, who can impact baseball somewhat effectively. Doesn't barrel a ton of balls, but has a solid hard hit rate. Hit a few home runs in a small sample last year. Has had a pretty bad 47 plate appearances so far this year. Steven Kwan, very cheap as a table setter at the top of the Guardians lineup. And then you get into the Carlos Santana, Lane Thomas, Nolan Jones, Ana Martinez, Bo Naylor stretch of the lineup where not any one of those guys is overly great or reliable, and they've been underwhelming all season long. But there is a little bit of individual upside, especially if you include previous performance. And everybody's cheap. They're coming in at just a 3.5 implied total. This is not an overly appealing stack, but they're going to be low owned. And again, you should be able to at least pick off some bat on ball against Boyd here. And then it's anybody's ball game. I'm interested in Kwan off the top. 295, 358, 419. Creator runs 22% better than average. Jose Ramirez is just a star. 13 homers, 21 steals. Tremendous slash line as usual. 142 WRC plus. He and Kwan are the only two guys in this confirmed version of the lineup that are above average via WRC plus this year. Even Santana, who hasn't been, he's dipped in his in the front end of the triple slash. 232, 329, 356. 9 homers, just a 124 ISO. We're starting to slide down maybe he has been a little bit weak. It's been not a great month for Carlos Santana. Still an okay barrel and hard hit rate. Still low strikeout, high walk. So I have hopes that he rescues the next couple hundred plate appearances and it becomes just a blip for his season. But we are coming back down the mountain on the other side of the career with Santana as well here. So it's not entirely unexpected. Thomas just hasn't found his form from a couple years ago. 168, 250, 265, 48 WRC plus. Ouch. We might never see that guy again. 3.9% barrels, 30% hard hits. Nolan Jones, though, over 214 plate appearances, has found no success. 81 WRC plus, a 107 ISO, bad slash line, low totals as far as the output goes. A very interesting 345 xWOBA, saying that he should be an awful lot better than he's been. And a really interesting 9.5% barrel, 47.4% hard hit that's creating some of that situation. Still drawing a 10.3% walk. Guy can hit for power. Guy can run. He's 26, 25 in a lineup where it's maybe tough to decide on some of these players. I'll take the upside from Nolan Jones. I'll also take some of the upside from the premium contact that Bo Naylor can provide a couple spots later, despite coming in at 168, 272, 359. You got 9 home runs, a 190 ISO, and 11% barrel rate. If you're going to this team, that's what you're taking. So you're looking like one, I'd probably include Fry. I'd definitely include Ramirez. If you include those, you could skip over Carlos Santana. Probably go over Nolan Jones at 26 instead of Lane Thomas at 32. But if you're building a bunch, you can go back and forth on those guys. And then the last piece there with Naylor, and you're at a 36-20 average, so 37 a piece for the 5-man. And that's probably the most appealing way to put the 5-man together. If you wanted to get even cheaper, you can leave Kwan out of that and maybe create a little bit more direct correlation and bring the price down to 34 exactly. Here, Fry, Ramirez, Thomas, Jones, and Bo Naylor. It's workable. It's a workable way to target Matthew Boyd here when not a lot of people are doing it. It's probably not going to be the right play. It's probably not going to succeed. But at low ownership, as a leverage angle, those are at least some justifiable, somewhat interesting bats who are underperforming their talent to get to, and one superstar. Brian Rocchio is not that interesting at the bottom of the lineup. Ana Martinez, some mix and match play at the absolute best in the outfield or at second base. I greatly prefer a lot of other second base options on this slate. Top of the Cubs with Ian Happ. Very interesting there. They're going up against Gavin Williams. He's 83, 84 across sites. He comes in with a 22.9% strikeout rate, but a 12.9% walk rate that's been giving him problems. 3.68 ERA, he's getting through it, but a 4.27 xFIP, a 1.43 whip is ugly. Too many barrels allowed, but it's a manageable launch angle at 10%, at 10 degrees on average. 3.14% home run rate is about right, maybe slightly lucky, right about league average for stuff plus, but a very solid 11.9% swinging strike rate. Gavin Williams is good, has great prospect pedigree, and should develop into a very high-end pitcher. I just don't love the idea of throwing him into the Cubbies. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. If he was in the high sevens, I could make the argument a little bit more effectively. He's fine, and the pitching slate got a little bit shorter, but it's a challenging spot. Ian Happ gets on base like crazy, 331 on base this year, a 343 xWOBA, a 108 WRC+. He's up to 12 home runs, 243, 31, 403. Pretty decent season out of Happ. He's got a little bit more to give us than this too, though. Very good as far as correlated scoring. Table setter for Kyle Tucker. Seiya Suzuki, who was the other piece in the Dynasty acquisition. He's got an 18.9% barrel, a 51.1% hard hit, both of which lead this hard-hitting team. Look at this stretch of barrels and hard hit, though. Across those hitters, that's a 14.2% barrel rate on average and a 45.7% hard hit rate across those 5 bats. Tremendous team. Tucker at 61.39, a little bit cheap maybe on FanDuel, but I'm talking about 100, 200 cheap, but slightly every 100 matters. Suzuki is definitely affordable on both sites at those prices. He's at 22 home runs. He's got a 283 ISO. His creator runs 33% better than average while hitting the ball like this. I'm not really sure why he's not a little bit more expensive on either site. PCA at 58.38 has 21 home runs and 25 steals. We're sub 300 in the on base now. Maybe something to watch in the ongoing sense there, but he's been tremendous. And if he's hitting the ball out of the yard, nobody cares about the on base. Dansby Swanson at 11.6% barrels, 44.4% hard hits. Michael Busch at 14.1 and 45.3. These guys mash. Both those guys have 14 home runs, a 101 WRC plus for Swanson, a 145 for Busch in fewer plate appearances. Very affordable at 42, 47, and 28.31. Good ways to fill out short and first base on an expensive team among the outfielders. It's an interesting configuration as far as having all the pricing in the outfield on this team. Carson Kelly at just 36.27, 9 home runs, pretty solid bat on ball numbers for him as well. He wasn't included in that average, but 8.8% barrels, 44.5% hard hits, especially on DK for just 36 against Gav Williams, who does give up some barrels, does give up some fly balls. I like the upside. Nico finally found a few home runs over the last few games. He's up to 3. Guess he got offended when everybody was calling him out as one of the 2 guys who had 2 qualified hitters who were yet to hit a home run like early last week or something. I mean, those all came just recently. Yeah, all 3 of those home runs came since June 24th. Nico's a mix and match player. He's more of a contact and correlated scoring stolen base upside. 336 on base, 15 steals, a 104 WRC plus. Little more appealing, but a little bit more expensive than Matt Shaw, who's also playable in the 9 spot. Cubs bats. Matthew Boyd. Guardians bats. Gavin Williams. Actually, no. Gavin Williams on top of the Guardians bats. Guards are really just kind of a wild card play. Low ownership, low exposure to the guards if you go there, but maybe one where keep it low exposed in your portfolio, but maybe you have a slight edge over the field because there is a little bit of potential there. Orioles lineup is in. They're going up against Jacob deGrom. Not sure how much the lineup's going to matter. Why is it doing this again? So deGrom comes in just under a 26% strikeout rate, a 5.5% walk, 13.8% swinging, 2.08 ERA against a 3.28 xFIP. Tell me when it stops sounding like Jacob deGrom. He's back to form. Can't believe it. Back to form. I was not expecting him to be as good as he's been. I was thinking it would take a little bit more time. Not sure if he was going to get there. Obviously, it isn't quite in the strikeout rate. Peak DeGrom, but he's working on it. Monster price, well worth it. Going up against an Orioles team that can scuffle against righties. Everybody has aggressive strikeout numbers except for Ryan O'Hearn in the heart of the lineup. Everybody else above 20 and significantly above 20%. 24.2% strikeout rate overall for this team. This is an ideal matchup for Jacob deGrom to find some upside against. I'm not really compelled to throw too many darts with the Orioles at 3.26 implied runs. If you're going there, Jackson Holliday is very cheap at 3,000. He's got 10 home runs on the season. So does Ramon Laureano, who's, maybe he's getting into some trade conversations now. There was a piece up today about him creating some trade buzz. 150 WRC plus, over 193 chances. Had some good years while with Oakland, but this is one of the better stretches we've seen him. It's 4-2 Toronto now. I wasn't paying attention. One of the more interesting stretches we've seen him. He's still very affordable at 37.28. So if you're going to the Orioles for some reason, then yeah, he's in the mix. Gunnar at 41-31, 10 home runs, 9 steals, solid slash line, but a little bit maybe short of expectations, but a 125 WRC plus. Top end of the lineup here, that's an average 128 WRC plus. So as up and down as this team can be, this group of hitters has been effective at the top of the lineup. O'Hearn's just having a nice year. 8.6% barrels, 48.2% hard hits, 11 homers, a solid slash line, a 144 WRC plus to sit second on the team behind Ramon Laureano of all people. Gary Sanchez, we've talked about his ridiculous ability to barrel baseballs, hit home runs over time. He also strikes out way too much. He's got a lot of very obvious problems, but Gary can mash. 3,000, 2,600. He's very cheap, but he's going up against Jacob deGrom. You don't need to do that to yourself. He's going to strike out 3 times today. Colton Cowser at 42-31, 7 home runs. Pretty weak slash line. Plenty of strikeouts out of him, too. Target for Jake deGrom. Ramon Urias, fairly low strikeout, one of the better batted ball event guys on the team. 6 homers on the season, though. 132 ISO, probably not the day for him either, even though we like him for cheap pricing and low ownership basically anytime we go to the Orioles. Ced Mullins, mix and match quality at best, especially Jake deGrom on the mound. Dylan Carlson, probably not even that much. The Rangers against Brandon Young. Young comes in after making 3 starts, 12 2/3 innings on the season. What do those look like? 4 innings last time out, 4 earned runs to the Rangers, 2 strikeouts to these Rangers, 2 strikeouts on a walk, 1 home run allowed, 4 2/3 against Detroit at Detroit, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 5 walks, 4 innings against the Reds, 3 earned runs on 7 hits, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. So none of those appearances are good. Hasn't completed the 5th inning yet in the show. Was not all that much more effective. Doesn't look like down in the minors while making some starts. Did have a 2.70 ERA over 33 and a third inning. Struck out 36, walked 7. So a little bit more effective. But a handful of runs in most of these games. Not great. I don't really see the need to go there. 65, 7,000 without much strikeout with a lot of questions about some walk. Even with the Rangers being up and down all season long, there's still enough hard hit. There's still enough quality on the Rangers side at a 4.35 total to probably stay away from Young and justify some Rangers shares. Josh Smith up top, 4,300, 2,900 multi-position. He's back to 5 positions on FanDuel. 7 homers, 8 steals at 350 on base, 117 WRC plus. Very solid stretch from a hitter that we've seen do this before. We know that he comes and goes a little bit. We know that the power output is very unrealistic. But he's a capable enough bat, especially when he leads off ahead of Corey Seager, ahead of Adolis Garcia, some of the more appealing bats in this lineup. Seager's got 10 home runs, but a weak slash line, especially for him. 117 WRC plus in spite of those flaws, still crushing baseballs in terms of the premium contact numbers, and only cost 4,000, only cost 3,300 on FanDuel. A lot of upside against Brandon Young. Marcus Semien at 37-28, 8 home runs, 6 steals. Slowly but surely coming around to at least average kind of numbers. Nowhere near what he once was, but not completely lost either. He's very cheap at second base. Adolis, up to 10 homers, 8 steals, making very good contact still. This has not gone away at all over the last season plus. It's come down slightly from the monster 39 home runs 2 years ago, but this is still very good premium contact. Just hasn't been finding results regularly for it, but could come roaring to life any given slate. And at these prices, he's always worth the gamble when you're going to this team and kind of a compelling reason to consider some shares. 2,800 is just too cheap. 3,500 is just too cheap. Jonah Heim at 33-25. 8 home runs out of him. He's a mix and match quality catcher with a little bit of pop. Josh Young, still making good contact, down to 33-28 at third base. He's another player that you can just go to on this team. 8 home runs, poor output so far this season, just an 82 WRC plus, but we know there's more talent than that. And at least he's hitting the ball squarely. So cheap bat to throw into the mix if you're choosing to target Brandon Young and the lack of quality there. Josh Young belongs in your lineups. Sam Haggerty, mix and match your way to some shares. He's getting on at a pretty good clip. One of the few guys in this lineup with a positive WRC plus at 103 after 127 chances. 4,200 feels a little bit silly with all of these guys who are better players in the threes, but there it is. 26 for Higgy is playable at catcher, especially if you're not going Jonah Heim. You can work some of him in, but he hasn't found his barrels this year. He hasn't found his oddball home runs this year. Mix and match quality at best. Alejandro Osuna hasn't given you anything over 61 plate appearances. A little bit of hard hit, couple few barrels along the way, has drawn some walks, not really helping him in the slash line. But given those attributes, a few shares at 23, a few shares at 22, if you're building a lot of Ranger stacks is fine. He's probably not in your first few Ranger stacks. Jacob deGrom, way up there. Then Rangers bats, and really not much from the Orioles side. Bats over that pitcher, though. Rockies lineup is in. Astros lineup yet to come in. Colton Gordon, he of the 3.98 ERA, 3.46 xFIP, a sparkling 2.9% walk rate, just 22% strikeouts, but as a strikeout to walk ratio, that is fantastic, over 40 2/3. He's given up a 4.62% home run rate, 9.3% barrels on an 18-degree average launch, nearly 40% hard hits, nearly 90 miles an hour of exit velo. I feel like it's just going to be problematic at Coors Field. This team doesn't draw walks anyway. They strike out quite a bit. We'll see how that collides. But overall, I'm looking at a little bit of contact available here. I'm looking at some premium contact upside bats in Coors Field. 4 guys in this lineup, bad as they are, double-digit barrel rates. Same 4 guys, 40, mid-40s, upper 40s, 50% hard hit rates. Reasonable home run bats. Say what you will about them. They strike out too much. They're bad overall at run creation, sequencing, most of the quality things you need to do to be a major league hitter. But this team can hit for power. I don't write the Rockies off in Coors Field games. 5+ implied total for them, just as appealing. And hopefully a little bit lower owned and certainly cheaper than the Astros. Astros side of things, 6+ implied total. Seems kind of obvious. They're going up against Chase Dollander, who comes in with a 17.9% strikeout, nearly a 10% walk rate, a 6+ ERA, a 4.70 xFIP, a 5+ home run rate on 13% barrels, all those hard hits. Seems like a targetable spot. Everybody and their brothers going to the Astros today, though. Mariners lineup, not the Astros. That's not the one we want. If you're going to Astros, Isaac Paredes off the top in Coors Field, 4,800, 3,700. Feels like DraftKings forgot to price him up. 37 on FanDuel is a pretty penny, but it's not inconceivable. He's been very good this year. 17 home runs, a 358 on base, 135 WRC plus to lead this team. Jake Myers in the projected 2 spot at 44.32, having a very good year, stealing bases, getting on like crazy, setting the table. It's really all he is. I'm not overly comfortable with him. This is like the absolute ceiling that I would want to pay for a player like Jake Myers. But if he's hitting second in this team, in this ballpark, et cetera, there's a lot of justification for him being at those prices. Jose Altuve at 5,036, perfectly fine. 13 home runs, 6 steals out of him, a 294 xWOBA continues to be concerning, but a 106 WRC plus. He really rescued his season overall. Still not making great contact, but looking a lot like Jose Altuve as far as the actual output. And again, Coors Field against a weak pitcher. Cam Smith having a good year, 276, 350, 427, 7 homers. Fairly priced for the upside at Coors, given a 7.7% barrel, 47.6% hard hit. Not a bad option. Jainer Diaz at 43.33, definitely not priced up enough. He's got 10 home runs, just a 146 ISO. That underlying 331 xWOBA still continues to tell the story. Very low strikeout, low walk, a lot of high-quality premium contact. Do not sleep on Jainer Diaz. If you're going to Astros bats and you need a cheaper catcher, though, Victor Caratini is right there for you. 6 home runs on the season, the ability to drive the ball, Coors Field, et cetera, et cetera. You can play Caratini on either site. You can double them up on FanDuel at Catcher and Util if you want to. You probably don't want to sleep on Christian Walker in the next spot down, though, if you're doing that. It's a little bit of a consideration there. 10 home runs out of him. Otherwise, terrible season so far. Not getting what they bought, but still a lot of barrels. Solid hard hit rate. Plays very well in Coors Field for these prices. Now, I'm not saying he plays well in Coors Field. I'm saying those numbers play very well in Coors Field for these prices. 41 is way too cheap on DraftKings. 34 is effectively priced on FanDuel. Cooper Hummel, 2 home runs on the season and 34 plate appearances, barreled a few balls along the way. A lot of strikeouts in that tiny sample. Mix and match quality at a very cheap price at worst. And then Mauricio Dubon, a skippable but also lightly playable, very cheap option at the bottom of the lineup to help you lower the price. I'm going to go like, what would be the, like 1, 2, and then maybe Dubon at second. Or no, it's short. Nah, I don't like Dubon at short. I mean, if you use this and you just put Paredes into it, you're still only at $4,360, so $4,400 a man for the favored road team at Coors Field. That feels inexpensive. $5,000 being the highest priced away player at Coors Field feels inexpensive. The Rockies are a little bit cheaper, but like team for team, man for man, it's not all as stark as it is against a lot of other teams. Interesting how they priced the Astros today. FanDuel got it a little bit higher overall and higher relative to the Rockies, I think. Just eyeballing it. On the Rockies side, Tyler Freeman at 46.33 has had a good 138 plate appearances, getting on base like crazy at a 413 clip, 125 WRC plus. Not a monster power bat, but a table setter with a little bit of ability to hit the ball hard. Very much avoids strikeouts, 8% so far this year, 13.8 last year, 17.9 the year before. An effective bat to consider. Outfield eligible, but has second base on FanDuel, which is really where you want him, 3,300. Hunter Goodman, multi-position eligible on FanDuel, not so much on DK, but catcher is where you want him anyway. 51 out of him. Very solid slash, 14 home runs on the season, a 334 xWOBA to justify it, a 120 WRC plus. Excellent contact numbers. Goodman is just a solid player. Jordan Beck's been good, 45-34 for him. 10 home runs, 9 steals, and 294 chances. A decent enough slash line, a 201 ISO, of 330 xWOBA to justify it. 12.8% barrels, 42% hard hits at Coors Field. And then everybody gets cheap. Tyler Estrada, not a bad 96 plate appearances at 292, 323, 393. We're not expecting much power output. 85 WRC plus and a 268 xWOB is probably the true story of who he is now. But at least he's hit for average a little bit. He's just weirdly cast in that cleanup spot. Brenton Doyle, as weak as his season has been, at 193, 247, 314. It's been really weak with a 120 ISO and a 41 WRC plus, 6 homers, 8 steals. But look at the premium contact. It's a lot of barrels and hard hits in his limited batted ball events. Just not finding success for him. Big time option that people will probably not go to as much as they should when going to this Rockies stack. Kyle Farmer's always in the mix for some cheap shares. That said, I don't love the first base only eligibility on DraftKings. Much more appealing as a move him around the board kind of guy for 27 on FanDuel. Pretty weak so far this year, 58 WRC plus, bad slash line, only 3 home runs. You take the bad with the good. You're just gambling when you play Farmer. Really not that appealing positionally on DraftKings, especially with Talia there for 200 more at first base and true power upside. He's been hitting the ball effectively since his recall. He was hitting the ball effectively when they sent him down to the minors. 9 home runs on the season, striking out way too much, doesn't draw enough walks, but puts good wood on the ball when he makes contact. That's all we want in this ballpark. Orlando Arcia, Ryan Ritter, pretty skippable down lineup. If you're building a lot of Rockies stacks or if you just need a cheap option in the infield, either one of them is fine, but neither guy is overly appealing. It does go Astros Rockies as far as ranking them, but it's a lot closer than the separated by a full run total might suggest. And in a lot of ways, a lower owned, slightly cheaper Rockies team has at least the same appeal, if not more. Astros are like the top ranked stack of the day, though. Rockies a few spots further down. Neither pitcher. Puts him out till August 20th. BBL. He was already on the IL. It's just a procedural thing since he wasn't going to be back anyway. That's around when he was going to come back anyway. For them, if you put him on the 60, he comes off of the 40-man. So you can make a subsequent roster move. So that's them just, creating some space. It's not a change as far as his actual status. He got hurt the other day. Not going to comment on that, Power. That is not the worst thing in there. Let's put it that way. Not by a long shot. Royals showing a lot of power upside. Home run pick of the day came from this game. Came from the Royals. Sal Perez. I was tempted to go with Bobby Witt, but then I saw Bobby Witt is like the 4th or 5th highest owned player on the entire slate on both sites per the RG projections. And everybody else on the Royals is in like the low mid single digits. I didn't want to go with Vinny again because I picked him a few times recently, so I went with Sal because I really like Sal. He's underperformed this season, but he's mashing at a 13.1% barrel. These numbers should improve. 341 xWOB, it tells that same story. So Sal Perez, home run pick of the day. But you got multiple guys above the magic number. You got Jack Caglianone at 9.30 despite his scuffling so far over 94 plate appearances. He's also very capable of putting good wood on the ball. Up top, you've got hitters that we really, really like. So against Emerson Hancock, I'm really not sure why we get the Royals at just a 3.74 implied total. They haven't been great at creating runs. That's probably part of it. Just 3 guys above average for WRC plus and everybody else pretty significantly below. So that explains away part of that total. But Hancock comes in at a 5.30 ERA, a 4.60 xFIP, 17% strikeouts, allowing a 4.9% home run rate on fairly significant contact outside of the barrels, but a fly ball trajectory. There's just a lot of available contact. There's a lot of guys put on base via the walk, via BABIP. And then you get power upside for our power bats, our obvious guys. I like this spot. I hope it goes a little bit under owned like it's projected to outside of Bobby Witt, and you just play Bobby Witt. Don't really want to go to Hancock, even at price, 6,700. Even if he keeps the Royals to a low total, 3.5, 5 runs, I don't see the appeal. I don't see him finding a ton of strikeouts. This is a very low strikeout Royals team. So I really don't see anything on Hancock. Lorenzen gives you a little bit of a shot for something. 4.91 ERA, a 4.45 xFIP, not great there. Swinging strikes and CSW are pretty bad. Home run total is pretty bad as well. 19.2% strikeouts, slightly higher than Hancock on the other side. 7.3% walks, slightly fewer walks. Going up against a team with slightly more strikeouts overall on the average, but also a threatening team with a decent amount of power in the lineup and 1 or 2 superstar power hitters. So probably best to avoid Lorenzen. But he does come with a little bit of upside as maybe a sneaky low-owned, super cheap guy, mostly at 72 on DraftKings. I don't think we go there at 78 on FanDuel. I don't really see the need. If we are stacking up Royals and looking to target Hancock, India comes and goes as far as the quality that you're going to get. 322 on base, still pushed up a little bit by the underlying 343 xWOBA. Should be better than he is, should be more productive than that 87 WRC plus, but it's been difficult to spot. 4 home runs on the season, 247, 322, 341. There's nothing crazy appealing about that. Bobby Witt's a star at any price. 54.39 works for me. 11 homers, 21 steals, a solid 13.36 in the home run model. I'm happy to start my stack with Bobby Witt and work down. Michael Garcia at 44.32, tremendous option. Solid season out of him so far this year. We do have the Mariners, not the Royals yet. He's got 8 home runs, 18 steals, 309, 367, 479, and a team-leading 135 WRC plus. Vinny at a 103 WRC plus, 330 xWOB under the covers, a dozen home runs, an improved slash line from where he started, and still climbing the board, still cutting strikeout further and further. He's at 16.4, still a ways to go to get to the last 2 years. The walk rate's right around where it was last year. Tons and tons of ongoing upside out of Vinny at just 41, 3,000 against this pitcher. Sal Perez at 36.29. Again, the home run pick of the day. He's got 9 on the season, but just look at the barrels. That's what it's all about with Sal. I will take the shots on power, especially because he's not really giving me average or on base or run creation this year. So I just kind of have to take the shots on the power. Caglianone at 3,025. First base eligible on FanDuel is nice as a mixer, but I've already got some first basemen to use from this team. He's most likely going into the outfield. 2 home runs in 94 chances, just a 101 WRC plus, or ISO rather, just a 76 WRC plus, but 8.8% barrels from one of the highest end prospects in baseball. Got to give him a minute. I want to be there on the day, so I'll continue to roster him for these cheap prices and just hope to catch that right day. Could easily be today against Emerson Hancock. Waters, Freddie Furman, Kyle Isbell down lineup. Mix and match pieces all. If you're skipping Sal for some reason, Furman's a reasonable option at catcher for only 23, given the high-quality hit tool, the low strikeout, the frequency of balls in play. Overall, he's not very good, but he can put balls in play, find success via BABIP. So for only 23, where you have to fill catcher, that's fine. 22 on FanDuel is less appealing. One second. Oh, there he is. For reasons I can't explain, I could not find Dom Canzone in the 7 spot on the Mariners as I was glancing at it, looking ahead. I was like, where the hell? Because I wanted to talk about him. But he's there, which is good. Looking over to the Mariners side, let me grab the actual confirm lineup, which is probably would answer that question as well. So he is in the 7 spot in the confirm lineup as well. Dom Canzone's coming into this game with a 15.1% barrel and 47.2% hard hit over his 65 chances, and he's hit 5 home runs, 274 ISO, carrying a 401 xWOBA, 144 WRC plus. It's a nothing sample. He hasn't really struck out, but he struck out a lot last year. Didn't really strike out the year before. Similar-ish numbers to what he's put up so far this year. You expect a big time cooling off from this kind of a pace as things continue, but he did hit 8 home runs in 188 chances last year with a 185 ISO, 6 in 182 chances with a 179 the year before. So there is a little bit of realistic pop in that bat for just 39, for just 27 to throw at Michael Lorenzen. That's an interesting player. Down lineup, 6-6-7 in the home run model today. Kind of fits right in with Luke Raley, Randy Arozarena, Jorge Polanco, all in the 6s against this pitcher. It's a quality stretch of bats, and nobody's expensive. Polanco's got 11 home runs on the season. Arozarena has 10 with 15 steals, 358 on base, creating runs like crazy, 129 WRC plus. As much as the production can come and go from this team, as much as they do have some strikeout, there's a lot of good run creators in the mix here. There's a lot of guys who maybe the home run totals outside of this one aren't stellar, but there's a lot of guys who hit the ball very hard, fairly reliably. There's an underperforming star right here who could come on in an awful hurry. So there's a lot to like with Seattle's lineup. At the top, J.P. Crawford, you know what I'm going to say. He's just too cheap for a guy getting on at a 386 clip, creating runs 28% better than average, hitting ahead of Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh, who's been the best power hitter in baseball this season. Just give me the table setter. Don't overthink it. That's really, really cheap. You don't need him to have individual quality. Take the correlated scoring option and run with it at shortstop if you're going Mariners. Julio's cheap at 52.32, especially at that FanDuel price. That is several hundred too cheap. 11 home runs, 13 steals, a 109 ISO. More to come in the second half, I'm sure. Raleigh has 33 home runs to lead the league. Shot at 60 home runs on the season. Just ridiculous. For all time, he is among just a handful of hitters like Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire who have hit 30-plus home runs before the break. Killer. Arozarena is cheap for the talent, for the on-base skills. Polanco's fine. He's just kind of in the mix, but he's very, very cheap, and he fits in at second base, which is ideal. Still hits the ball very hard. The production has come and gone a little bit over the season, but a 354 xWOB is appealing. 112 WRC plus for the full season so far. Raley hits the ball very hard from the left side. Don't sleep on Luke Raley shares against Lorenzen. 3 home runs, a 134 ISO, not reflective of a 12.5% barrel rate and 48.6% hard hits over 118 chances. He has more power to give. He's getting on base at a great clip, 350 on base, a 115 WRC plus, and he can run a little bit. Handful of steals, handful of home runs each of the last few years. Williamson, Cole Young down the bottom of the lineup, mix and match plays, both in the 250s average-wise, sub 300 on base, 74 and 73 WRC plus, not that appealing. Mariners bats, Royals bats, but it could easily be the other way around if we're just talking about the top of the Royals lineup. You get dragged down a little bit on the overall by the bottom of the Royals. It's very, very close. Lorenzen over Hancock if I have to take a pitcher, though. Giants and the D-backs. Diamondbacks lineup is in. This game and the Dodgers game, and then that's it. We're actually making decent time, 5:40. We'll come out right around 6 o'clock. So, as I said at the beginning of the show a little while ago, Hayden Birdsong is talented. Kid's a good pitcher. Still developing as a full-time starter. But a 22.3% strikeout rate against an 11.6% swinging is very appealing. He's walked too many so far at 9.6%. His year so far, 56 and 2/3, but only 7 starts. A little bit of hybrid work in there as a multi-inning reliever and has since joined the rotation full-time. Last year, he was in the rotation for half the season full-time. 27.9% strikeout, but a really ugly 13.7% walk rate. 11.5% swinging, 28% CSW. Very solid mark by Stuff Plus that has come down year over year and needs to go back up. But the kid's got talent. He's just kind of working out the kinks. Do I want to bank on talent at 75, 77 against a very, very good Diamondbacks lineup carrying a 4.82 implied total? No, I do not. I don't think it's the day to go to birdie much as I like the pitcher. A few darts here and there at 75, 77 across 150 lineup, perfectly fine. One in a package of 20 lineups, or one out of, if you're making 5 lineups and you want to take a cheap gamble on birdie, fine. But know what you're buying if you do that. On the other side, Gallen at 78, 79, probably a little bit more appealing. There are many more strikeouts in that Giants lineup. Gallen, maybe not necessarily even more capable than Birdsong of going and finding him this year. 20.8% on a 9.6% swinging strike rate is not getting it done. But in previous seasons, 25% last year, 26% strikeouts the year before. He's just been better. So any given slate, we could find that upside with Zach Gallen here. He's given up way too many barrels this year. Way, way, way too many hard hits and too much exit velo on a fly ball trajectory. Explains away the home runs. 5.75 ERA with a 4.40 xFIP. Gallen is not much more appealing, if appealing at all, than Birdsong here. But I do still have that lingering idea of playability. And we do still have a little bit better of a projection on it. So if I'm throwing a dart, it's more likely to be on Gallen and target the Giants lineup. You can see they have a decent implied total as well, 4.28. If you're looking at Giants bats, we'll see if Christian Casas is in the leadoff spot again. 265, 305, 357, and 87 WRC plus. Hasn't given you much over 108 chances. Mix and match quality from the leadoff role wouldn't be ideal to have there. Rafi Devers at only 51.38 has hit 17 home runs at 220 ISO. Strikes out quite a bit, but draws plenty of walks and shouldn't have a problem getting to Zach Gallen here. Big lefty bat to throw at Gallen, 10 plus in the home run model. Elliot Ramos with a 6.66, the mark of the beast in the home run model. 13 homers on the year. A 345 xWOBA under the covers should push some power, should push more productivity as time goes on. 127 WRC plus on the season. Yaz, cheap source of lefty power. So is Young-Hoo Lee a couple spots later. Well, Lee is more a cheap source of solidly struck and frequent contact than he is power, but a good player a couple spots down in the outfield for a cheap price. In between, Wilmer Flores, decent situational home run hitter. He's only okay. 289 xWOBA under the covers for him versus the 319, the 331 for the other two guys, the 106 and 99 WRC pluses. Kind of a mess. But between the three, I'm going Yastrzemski and Young-Hoo Lee more often than I'm going one of those guys with Flores or Flores on his own. Willie Adames a couple spots after that. Despite the struggles, I'll continue to harp on the 11.7% barrels, the 44.1% hard hits until it just comes true, until the performance normalizes. He's better than this. He's hitting the ball better than this when he makes contact. The strikeouts and the walks are not dissimilar from the last 2 seasons. Not dissimilar from the guy who had 32 home runs, drove in 112, stole 21 bases, had a 119 WRC plus last year. We're not crazy far off the marks. I continue to believe, foolhardy as that may be, Patty Bailey, mix and match quality catcher. Tyler Fitz, mix and match quality infielder who should be better, but is not. On the D-back side, the confirmed lineup, Adalberto Perdomo in the leadoff spot. All his on-base skills pay dividends in that role. 47-34, not exactly what I want to pay for that kind of hitter. 9 home runs, 13 steals. He's giving you a little bit more than just like leadoff, get on base, correlated scorer guy for the full season. But by and large, that is who he is. 5.9% barrels, 32.2% hard hits. Low strikeout, plenty of walks, good table setter. Tel Marte at 6,042 can be in my lineup any day. 17 home runs, a monster slash line at 291 ISO. He's just a star. Pavin Smith is cheap for the quality. 8 home runs, 369 on base, a 186 ISO, a lot of extra base hits in the mix, 11.8% barrels. Very, very good fit in the 3 spot in this lineup. Josh Naylor is Eugenio Suarez. Monster power upside out of Suarez. The power's come and gone a little bit for Naylor this year. Barrels are slightly down, but hard hits are up. He's having a great year at 304, 359, 474. 10 home runs might be short of expectations for some people, but he's got a shot at a 2020 season easily, and he's got a 130 WRC+. He's been incredibly productive. Suarez is a masher, 26 home runs. Rumors that he might be on the way to Philadelphia, which would be really interesting. Lourdes Gurriel, Jake McCarthy, James McCann, Alec Thomas down lineup. All cheap playable parts. Gurriel's the most appealing still, 4,027. He's still the most expensive as well. 11 home runs, 7 steals. Ignore the low end on base. He should come back to life a little bit as far as just finding success via the quality with which he hits the ball and the frequency with which he hits the ball. A little bit of misfortune in that that ugly on base mark. McCarthy, mix and match quality outfielder. McCann has a little bit of oddball power, but it typically comes against lefties over the years, and we haven't seen much of it in recent memory. 8 home runs in 233 chances last year, 6 in 226 the year before. It's been kind of a minute since we got much from James McCann. And Alec Thomas, an okay season, 4 home runs, 5 steals over 239 chances, and 82 WRC+. Just a spot filler at the bottom of the lineup. D-backs, bats. Cheap Zach Gallen. I'm going to roll the dice one more time on saying it. I don't want to sell him too hard. Don't get too enthusiastic. Don't take too much of him. He's on the board. Then the Giants bats, and then Birdie. Need a better matchup to get back on the train with Birdie. White Sox are 3.05 implied total going up against Yoshi Yamamoto, who has been spectacular through most of the season. 2.61 ERA, a 3.07 xFIP, a 28.4% strikeout rate on 11.7% swinging, 29.1% CSW. He's given up a light amount of hard hit, 41.4% hard hit, slightly higher than we want it, but he keeps the ball down, 7-degree average launch, so we don't really care, and that's pretty typical of pitchers who keep the ball down to that kind of launch. So it goes by the wayside a little bit. 2.53% home run rate, entirely realistic. Going up against the White Sox lineup with no Lou Bobbies on the IL now. He was part of my trade. Emacs got him now in the Dynasty League. That one breaks my heart. I hate selling low on a player like that, especially a potential return to form superstar who might find himself on the Dodgers, the Cardinals, the Yankees, the Cubs, a team like that in the near future. Kills me. He's Cuban too. Love rooting for the Cuban guys. Still got Adelise for that. Mike Tauchman at the top of the White Sox lineup, going up against Yamamoto. Probably a lost cause to go to any Tauchman shares. He's very good at getting on base, moderate power output, 319 in the home run model. He's very cheap with a 371 on base, a 138 WRC plus over 132 chances. If you're going White Sox, it's one way to go, but you probably don't want to go White Sox. Chase Meadroff has been underwhelming the last month or so. 265, 352, 315. The on base is still good. Doesn't really hit the ball hard. Still finding success via the walk, limiting strikeouts, putting balls in play, but the average has come down significantly. The correlated scoring has come down. He's at just a 95 WRC plus now. Andrew Benintendi's just not good. Miguel Vargas, also not really good. Both those guys have 10 home runs, 102 and 103 WRC plus. Those numbers are going to come down from there. Kyle Teel at 29, 26, 319, 421, 404 over 57 chances since getting the call to the show. 12.5% barrels, 43.8% hard hits, and a 139 ISO. It's been one of their more interesting bats in that teeny tiny sample. but he's just finding his footing, and you're throwing him up against a buzzsaw of a pitcher. Lenyn Sosa gives you oddball home run power, 6 home runs on the season in 250 chances, and an 8.1% barrel, 42.7% hard hits. Fill second base at a cheap price. Again, if you're going White Sox already and you want to round things out, fine. Otherwise, not really. Maybe other spots against weaker pitchers, we could throw Sosa shares into the mix as like a one-off guy at second base, but not really today. Ryan Noda, I would say the same thing about him in other matchups if he stays at these 2,000, 2,200 prices. It's been terrible over 35 plate appearances, has 1 home run, but nothing else. 50 WRC plus right now. This is a lefty bat that we've seen get on base at aggressive clips, hit some home runs in the show, put good wood on the ball over past couple seasons. So there's a little bit of life there, but not today. Michael A., same thing. 4 home runs, 7 steals, pretty weak season to him anyway. But in the mix on other days, if you're going to the White Sox today, he's in the mix. 14% barrels, 48.4% hard hits. Still doing Michael A. things, just not quite as frequently. Josh Rojas, not very good at the bottom of the lineup. And then you get to target Shane Smith with the Dodgers. The one thing I said about Shane Smith at the beginning of the show that remains true at the end of the show, limits the home run model numbers. He's given up a 1.55% home run rate. That's 5 home runs in 15 starts this year to 300 some odd hitters. I said at the beginning of the show. Does have legit ability to limit home runs a little bit. Now, most of it's coming through limiting barrels. I was going to say hard hits and exit velo, but that wasn't true. 12.5 degree average launch. So he's missed the premium contact a little bit. Part of that's on swinging strike. He's got an 11.7% swinging strike. So as the ball is dancing away and you're flailing at it on some of those, he can induce some weak and medium contact. He can miss some barrels along the way. But there are some hard hits. There is some exit velo there. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that climb and change this the next time he matches up against this team. Either way, it's the Dodgers. You don't really care about the impact in this one stat. They're tremendous. They're carrying a 5.5 implied total. They look great. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy. Play any of those guys in combination with any of the other guys. It's honestly not all that unaffordable to just do that if you're leaving Ohtani out of the mix. It's a $46.80 price. Obviously, it's very expensive, but on a cheap pitching day, that's very doable. You do, of course, want Shohei Ohtani in there. The way to get that would be to just do this. Grab Mikey Conforto at 3,000. Grab Ohtani, Mookie, Freddie, and Max. What does that give us? 47.20. So 48, that's a little higher than I wanted it. Let's bring it down. Let's get Freddie out of the mix. And we'll go Pajas. 45.60. Still a little bit high, but 4,600 apiece for a 5-man that includes Ohtani and Mookie. Gives you Max Muncy, Andy Pajas, who's having a very strong season, and then an underperforming Michael Conforto, who does still mash from the left side. Conforto's at 173, 300, 302. He's hit 6 home runs in 267 chances with just a 129 ISO, but a 9.2% barrel, a 44.8% hard hit. There is appeal there at 3,000 on DK, at 26 on FanDuel. He helps you average things down. Probably a better shot at a big score than Tommy Edman most days, given the nature of the players. Pajas is just good, 291, 328, 500 to 209 ISO, 16 home runs. Monster stretch of power there. You know the story on all these guys up here. Max Muncy at 46, 31 remains very appealing. He's up to 13 home runs and a 211 ISO. 13.8% barrels, 53.2% hard hits, just looking like Max Muncy. Teoscar Hernandez has monster power from the other side of the plate. Will Smith, one of the best catcher bats in baseball, full stop, 318, 413, 532. I guess I didn't stop. Killer Dodgers lineup. Roster them to your heart's content. They're going to be popular given that total, given the matchup. Smith, not completely terrible. 3.38 ERA, 4.42 xFIP. Too many walks, 21.1% strikeout. Not a good strikeout to walk, but good at inducing swinging strikes. There's a little bit there. At 77, a dart or two, if you're crazy on DraftKings, sure. 73 on FanDuel, I don't see the reason to go there. And it's not going to work out on DK either. Dodgers bats way up here. Yoshi Yamamoto, way up there. Pick your poison either way, whichever one you want to rank on top. And really nothing from the White Sox matters on the list. Bringing things full circle. Grand Slam Springer. Yeesh. Yankees need to find a reliable catcher. This nonsense started with another interference on a called third strike. That's not ideal. Who was catching today? Was it Rice or Wellesley? Or oh no, it was I think I saw Escada get in at bat. Was it JC? Wellesley's a good catcher. Learned a lot of the framing from Jose Trevino before they sent Trevino out. But yeah, there's been some weird results with the catchers. I like a kink in my neck every time I turn toward the screen. Getting old, guys. Must have slept funky last night. 5:53 on your clock. We're getting out before 6 o'clock if I talk fast. Forgot to mention through the show multiple times. I should have been mentioning this promo that I'm running. I shouldn't just mention it at the beginning and the end, but there you are. Not very good at this. Promo code sarcastic with a K where it doesn't belong in the middle of the word. 50% off of a week or a month over at Rotoscouts, where the price is already below $1 a day for access to everything. That's only on the weekly and monthly, not on the quarterly plan for this discount. But if you want to pick up a quarterly plan, just ping me. I'll set you up. No problem. This applies for current subscribers and future subscribers, new subscribers, whatever you want to call them. Everybody's entitled to take advantage of the promo. So go check that out, guys. $3 and change gets you from today to next Tuesday. Includes every main slate for baseball all the way through. Yeah, it was JC. That's what I figured. So one last time. Yamamoto, Jake DeGrom, can't go wrong up at the top of the board. You lost Freddie Peralta, you lost Clay Holmes. So that middle stretch gets really interesting around Matthew Boyd, who is good but shaky. Shane Baz, who is improved but shaky and facing a hard-hitting Athletics lineup in a hitter-friendly park. Zach Gallen, very shaky but very cheap. An expensive Grant Holmes. That's that tier. And then you get into Brady Singer in a bad spot against Boston, but for a fair price. Gavin Williams against Chicago for a fair price. Those two get a little bit more interesting too, with just taking the other two pitchers off the board. Those guys also move up slightly from that like middle price tier. And then everybody else is just cheap and risky. Birdie against Arizona, Lorenzen against Seattle, Springs against Tampa. It's not safe anywhere down the board. And then it gets borderline unplayable around Shane Smith and down. So you got a tight pitching slate today, but given the way everybody's priced, there are very visible tiers of guys to work with in tandem with one another. What you probably don't have today is all that much ability to go double pay down on DraftKings. Like if you're making a mistake, I think today, where the other day I was advocating for it. Today, if you're looking to go like, you know, Lorenzen Singer or Singer Williams or Gallen Singer, it feels a lot more challenging. Baz is you're already up to 88, so you're not even really double cheap. Fitz at 55 is a weird bargain bin option in a bad spot with a lot of power on the other side in a hitter-friendly park. Don't love that, but he's very, very cheap. You know, Tyler Anderson at 63 against that hard-hitting Braves team. All the upside they're showing, really difficult to justify. Of course, Field is a no. Hancock against KC, 6,000. But KC's low strikeout, even a successful day for Hancock, what does it really look like? And I'm seeing a lot of upside for KC in the model. Eric McQuarrie jumping in. Roth doesn't like Boston or Atlanta to play either. Jesus. It's getting messy fast, guys. Let me punch out of here on that note. We will thank everybody for their time. All the thumbs ups. Hit the like button down there. Subscribe to the channel if you get a chance. Trying to get that over 1,000. Jump into our free Discord, whether you're a subscriber or not. You can join the Discord. That's also linked down there. The website is rotoscouts.com. The Twitter handle is @rotoscouts. Follow that. Join up at the site with promo code sarcastic with a K in the middle for 50% off of a week or a month. It's scrolling across the bottom of your video window right now. So check that out. Thank you too, Monty. I appreciate it. Great show back at you, buddy. Good luck out there tonight, guys. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. I love seeing them, especially when I'm not doing well. Makes me feel good. Even when I am doing well, still makes me feel good to see you guys also doing well. Justifies all this effort that goes into these shows. So good luck. Go win something, and we will be back tomorrow for more. See you, gang.